All right,
That's cool.
let's
Hey,
start.
cheers.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming down. How you been? Last night you said you had a bit of a few drinks at home, the old gin.
Yeah, I'm a little bit hungover today, but
Yeah,
other than that, I've been pretty good.
yeah,
And yeah, had like the common cold. Everyone,
yeah.
not
Did
COVID.
you get tested?
No, I didn't, but I did go.
Oh,
I
nah.
did go to the doctors, and they said
Yeah,
it was sweet.
no, like yeah,
So,
yeah, not COVID. Yeah,
well, it was actually a friendly reminder how much I found a good doctor once. And I just kind of was off doctors for a long time, and then I found a good one who like was young and listened and blah blah blah. And then I had to just like go and like get it with anyone this
yeah,
time just to go in and check or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
And so I just went in with some old doctor and then like kind of realized once I was in there that like I remembered why I used to not like going to the doctors
yeah,
because there's that old mentality of
yeah,
like open your mouth, like let me listen to your chest.
yeah. It's
Uh,
just all like there's no human sort of personal
no,
skills there. It's just all like very robotic, like this scientific kind of thing. Whereas
totally.
some other people, you get a good doctor and they're a bit more
Yeah.
personable, like
Well,
about
the one that I liked actually like looked stuff up and
yeah,
like did stuff like that. This one
yeah,
was just like can't hear anything in your chest. You smoked on the weekend. Okay, cool. Like goodbye.
yeah,
You're all
yeah.
you're all fine. And
Whereas he's
actually,
like, oh, maybe it could be something else, like a little bit more passionate, I suppose. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. So
yeah.
that was interesting to have that experience again. But yeah, the old COVID.
The old COVID, yeah.
I'm glad I don't have it.
It's funny you said you were drinking gin last night because we've just been talking about the candles and that we've got in the front here, and I've actually got a gin flavor as
For the
well that I've got
candles.
yeah, gin flavored.
Mm.
It's like a cardamom infused gin with something else, some other flavor. Yeah, I've got
Hmm.
all these other cool scents to try. So
Are you sticking to like this size of bottle for
I
now?
I think so, just because I've sort of got down the how to cut them and all that and sort
Hmm.
of stuff and how to do that, so I'm gonna keep it for this, for the moment just with the beer stuff. It's easy to label them with my
Yeah,
logos and stuff,
totally.
so
I was thinking you could do like limited edition, like Bombay Sapphire bottles and stuff
yeah, like,
like
I
that.
can do stuff like that as
Super,
well,
super cool.
but, it just depends too, like, how big the bottle is because it's
Hmm.
more wax then,
Yeah.
and so it's like, well, how much do you wanna charge for a candle?
Yeah, yeah.
If you make
$100.
this massive big you know what I mean? If you've got a
Hmm.
big bottle with a massive lot of wax and candle, it's like, well, that's like 3 candles in one, like,
Totally.
yeah, so, but yeah, I'm keen to do some stuff like that, like maybe do one where it's like, "There's only one, I'm just gonna make one.
Yeah, yeah. And
Who
just
wants
cost
it?"
it
Just
like,
auction it off.
yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
put in bids. Silent auction or something. But
Mm.
yeah, it's been fun making the candles, man, just, experimenting and, yeah, just figuring it out, so it's going well, it's a bit of
It's
fun.
one of those side projects from the lockdown,
Yeah. Oh, not
essentially.
really even, just
Oh,
something I was just like, "I'm gonna do it." My sister used to make candles, so we've got
cool.
we had heaps of stuff at home, and I've actually got some of her old candles, so I think I'll probably sell them too if people want some nice, scented, like they're all like girly scents,
Hmm.
sort of, real fruity and,
Yeah.
lots of,
Bit more
lime and
traditional than in a beer bottle.
coconut and, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, different to beer. So I've got all real weird different scents. So
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting to try some of them. Um, so you hear
Ta-da.
we met basically at the producer meetup, right? Had we
Yeah.
met before? I don't
No,
think
I
we'd
don't
met
think
in
so.
person before. No.
Yeah.
So I know you from there, but obviously you've got your two projects that you do.
Yep.
So just talk us through the difference between the two and sort of
Yep.
how they came about and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, B-Side was like the first one and has been the longest.
Yep.
I've been using like loop pedal. Oh, if anyone that doesn't know, B-Side is a live electronic live looping project. That I mean started as me being a kid using a single loop pedal
Yep.
to um like discovering dub effects and then Beardy Man and then
Yep.
buying a bunch of chaos pads
Yep.
and it just grew and then eventually switched to Ableton and became what it is today.
Yep.
And then kind of in that process, I think I like had bought a machine and started creating tracks on a machine. And then I used to like DJ that through my chaos pads essentially.
Yep.
So instead I never really like I didn't start DJing. I like always used equipment and that.
Yep.
And then that eventually got switched to Ableton too, and then just kind of became its own thing. But I really love having both of them because B-Side is like all of those live musical tendencies. Like
Yeah.
when I'm writing songs, it's very much like I'm performing even with the pads and stuff,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything is a performance and
Yeah.
like the live side of it, and
Yeah.
then I like refine it afterwards.
Yeah.
Whereas MastaRyte used to be like that, but now I basically just like have removed all instruments and just sit there with
It's
my
just
keyboard and
yeah, yeah. So it's more
geek
just
out.
production in the box, like kind of thing.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it's nice to have both of them because I find like I do one for ages, like say just B-Side for a while because I got shows.
Yeah.
And I find then like my musicality from that then transfers across to the MastaRyte stuff. That when I
Yeah.
do that for ages, then when I go back to B-Side, I usually tweak my whole template.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've learnt stuff about
Yeah.
compression or whatever.
New
Yeah.
stuff, yeah, new
Yeah.
things to do. So it's kind of cool because you can use what you learn from one project for the other, and you
Hmm.
can maybe bring inspiration ideas from the other one B side
Totally.
into it. So, what like with the two projects, what kind of music is it that you're doing?
Mm.
Is there difference between the two in terms of the style and genre, or is it kind of match up pretty nicely?
I mean, I think we mentioned this last week at the producers meetup. They are different, but at the same time, I think I said that like for many years I've been like trying to write a banger,
Yeah,
and
something
then
like heavier,
yeah,
like
I'm
yeah.
like yeah, I wrote a banger, and then like I play it at a festival. My buddies are like, oh, that was sweet, man, that was such a chill set, and I'm like,
You're like, "Oh, it wasn't meant to be chill."
yeah,
Yeah.
I wrote a banger. So yeah, they've both definitely got the chill vibe to it. I've
Yeah.
kind of just submitted myself to that now, and
But it's more that sort of 110, 100 or lower, like 80 or whatever, sort of
definitely.
more like ghetto funk or like what do we call it? Glitch hoppy sort of.
Well, yeah, MastaRyte was definitely like a lot of like Cheshire OPO based glitch
Yeah,
hops
yeah.
stuff at the
Yeah, yeah.
beginning. I've gone towards the kind of side dubs sort of route now.
Yep.
But yeah, all at like 80 or 75 to 110.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so you've always been doing that kind of music then, sort of
Pretty
that's the
much.
vibe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the MastaRyte stuff, like I said, is like switched. I mean, the reason it switched was because I loved horns and I loved keys and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I was just using the same things and it was really good. I wrote like a couple EPs on Glitch Hop Community.
Yeah, cool.
And it was really nice to have like that out there. But I found I was reaching for the same tools.
Yeah.
So eventually when I wanted to do something different, I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then that's what
Yeah.
opened up like a whole new world of style for that project
Yeah.
that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And what about the names, like
Oh,
B-Side
yeah.
and MastaRyte? How'd you come up with the names? Because I've always found that interesting. Some names are boring on like people, like there's no real story.
Mhm.
Some people have awesome stories and that. So how do the two names come about?
So B-Side came about, I mean, originally when I started B-Side, it was probably a lot more hip hop.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like my singing voice. That was pretty much the main thing. And I
Yeah.
also like to rap. So it was way more hip hoppy. So that had an influence in the name. But also at the time, there wasn't really all that many. I mean, there still is. There's like a large amount of loopers out there, but like everyone kind of does it differently, which is what I
Yeah.
love about looping. Because
Their own
there's so much
style and vibe and the way they do it. Equipment, setup and
equipment.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it like you can put the same pedal in front of two different people, but they'll just like it's because it's only them making the noise. It's like it can only sound like them,
Yeah.
which
It's
I
the
love.
way they tweak it and use all the different parameters and things. and
Exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, the concept was like B-Side. It's like it was something different.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
And
Yeah.
then
Because it's the
also
B-side. Yeah. Yeah.
the B, the
Yeah.
Blair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That works too. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's where it started, and then I thought about the alternative side of it, and was
Yeah.
like, cool. MastaRyte, I'm pretty sure an ex girlfriend actually came up with that one. I
Yeah.
think I was already calling it MastaRyte because I'm Blair Wright, Mr. Right, MastaRyte. And then at that time, I think that was before my music had even kind of got like the funkier side. Like I was making just really squiggly glitch hop. I
Yeah.
was like right into Mr. Bill, so I was just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
going to town on automation lanes
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah.
And then so I wanted a weird name, and so I went with that, and then I think she came up with the spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Which I'm like mildly like regrettable
Because how's it
about.
spelled?
MastaRyte.
Whoa, MastaRyte. Yeah. I don't know. You should have just had your actual last name.
Yeah. I'm kind of considering like maybe like having it still be MastaRyte, but like bringing it down to just MR and like a dot in the middle, and like
M dot R. Yeah.
people might call it Mister or whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter that much, but like it just kind of
Yeah, yeah.
refines it a bit more instead of everyone being like MastaRyte
Yeah,
or
because you gotta try and like, pronounce it then when you see it, you're like, "What the hell is that?" And that's always a bit of a struggle too, like, when you're trying to find artists or something. Someone's
totally.
like, "Oh, that was MastaRyte that played," and you're like, "Oh, sweet, I'm gonna try find him." You're like, "How do how do I spell that? Like, how do
Yeah,
I spell MastaRyte? Oh,
totally.
like, how do I find this person?" Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's always the way with so many people, like, their names, and it's like, man, you gotta change that. Like, one of my mates, Brandon, shout out Brandon,
Mhm,
he's been on the podcast before, but his name's Shinobi Urei,
mhm,
and, like, or obviously, it's a, like, Japanese name already, like, that's hard, for people to spell because they're
mhm.
not used to that how things are spelled in Japanese, but he's he put a question mark in the middle of it too.
Oh
So,
no.
like, to try and tag him in anything on Facebook was just, like, impossible because you had to,
Yeah,
like, know that it's got the question mark in it, and
yeah.
it's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I think he's changed it now, so good job, Brandon, but it's.
It's such a fine line between like you can have those like intricacies that will work really well for you, but
Yeah.
like it's the fine line between like keeping it simple as well.
Yeah, you gotta be unique, but not so unique that no one can find you.
Yeah,
Like, it's gotta be
totally.
yeah, you've gotta walk that tightrope there, yeah, so, so with the producer group, like, we had done, like, a diffused sessions, which is essentially the same thing,
Yeah.
and then, you sort of spoke to Johnny about it and sort
hmm
of had met him. How did you guys meet, actually? Did you guys just known each other through
I
friends and
honest,
festivals? Like,
yeah,
it's kinda like that, isn't it?
yeah,
Like,
it gets
in
blurred.
certain scenes and stuff, it's like, "Oh, we met each other, I don't know, at a doof or a house party or a
hmm
something." Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's mine and Johnny's relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Actually, I was like, I actually have no idea when exactly we met, but yeah, just do of circles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more
I've
sort
been
of
doing
people.
stuff with like the Wonky guys and
That's probably where
most
it
of the
is.
crews for a
Because
long
the
time.
wonky guys,
So
I know Johnny's, knows the wonky guys pretty well, so
yeah,
that's probably where the connection is, I'd
yeah,
say. Somewhere in there,
yeah.
or who knows. And so, yeah, you'd come up with the idea of the producer meetup as well. So how did that come about, the idea?
That came about from I think I have shared it with you before. I don't know if you watched it. The Ableton video of what are they called?
Is this like the tutorial ones you're talking about the other week?
No.
No?
So on Ableton, on their YouTube website or whatever,
Yeah,
they basically just had like a mini 10-minute documentary of a collective that had done something out of LA.
yeah.
The name is completely slipping me, but you can check it out on Ableton.com, but or their YouTube page. But
Sponsor us, Ableton. Send
yeah,
us some free shit.
please. I need to update my rig. I need a new push.
Yeah.
Um, uh, basically they all got together as producers just to like meet up and share tracks and
Yeah.
stuff. And then they started. I found it just really interesting. I mean, I wanted to do that anyway.
Yeah.
But I really liked how they grew because they did the sample thing where they
The
gave it.
challenge
Yeah,
thing that yeah,
yeah,
which
and
I didn't do for the last time.
yeah,
I still have to do my homework.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they started, well, then they started making mixtapes out of those, and then they started releasing the
Yeah.
challenges to public, and it just all went big, and
And
that's
then
how they
then
made
it's
the thing.
like, "Oh, we're not gonna do challenges anymore. Let's just actually write dope, like,
hmm
compilation, like, albums, or, like, someone has a release, let's just do remixes and,
hmm
we'll do all the remixes and stuff." Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, I mean, the idea came from that, and I've wanted to do it for a long time, but
Yeah.
it kind of all comes out of the festive collective stuff.
Yep.
So for the last, I mean, technically I'm still on it, but I've been doing the knee scheme.
Yep.
You know what the niece is?
No, what's that?
It's the new enterprise initiative scheme, I believe it's called. So essentially, you go on the dole. So I was like touring full time
Yep.
for the last year and a half, or a year ago now. I don't
Yeah.
know time, uh, but and because I like had like just gigs every couple of weeks or every week, whatever.
Yeah.
Got on the dole. You go on the dole for 2 months, and then they like ask you to like they start heckling you about getting a job or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you've got an idea and you want to start a small business, you say I want to go on the knee scheme, and so you do like a 6 week business plan thing. You go in once a week, write a business plan.
Yep.
They propose it, and then you get like 9 months of like new start technically, but with uninhibited of how much money your business makes.
Yeah. So you could
Um,
make $1 million with your business idea and you'd still get New Start.
totally.
Is there no limit?
I
Imagine that, like
I
you're on
don't
New
think there
Start, you're on
is.
New Start, and you start some company that does something,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what, something crazy, and you're like making like hundreds of thousands of
You'd still
dollars,
get it for the nine
and you're
months.
still on New Start.
Yeah, as long as it goes into the business, it's you
Man,
can't.
they got to fix that. That's a total loophole. Like, I'm sure there's like something would happen there. Like, surely you couldn't make that. Like, yeah, anyway.
No, well, I mean, I don't know.
I suppose it's only the
assume so.
9 months. They're like, well, we're just
It's
paying
just
them for the 9
9 months.
months. It's
Yeah.
not like you can keep doing it forever, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
Well, they used to. I mean, I know so many people, including my parents, that have done it. And it, like, when it originally started, I mean, like all these schemes, they like just threw money at people.
And people just rot the system, like, kind of thing.
And
That's
then
what always
it
happens at the
went back from
start.
being like 24 months to 16 to
Yeah,
12 to 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did that, and you can't technically do it around something that's already a business or that's already making money, because like B-Side and
It's got to be
Master,
a new project.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've always wanted to do the festive collective stuff anyway. That came out of, so I just registered that as like a promotions company business, and I ran Doofer's daycare at the start of this year.
Yeah.
But the main like purpose around all of that has always been to um just, I believe in like a greater creative community.
Yeah.
And I found that over the years, like all of my opportunities and stuff have just come out of like friends and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
out of my own persistence as well,
Yeah.
but a lot out of like just networking and friends and
Yeah.
stuff. So whenever I'd fly to festivals, I'm kind of going all over the place here, but whenever I fly to festivals, I'd look at all the posters on the walls, like in new places, write all the festival names down. So I'd been doing that for like 2 or 3 years, and I had
Yeah.
quite a big list. And I'd mentioned to Dizzy, Mood Swing,
Yeah.
shout out Dizzy, about like that I had this list and I wanted to put it in a spreadsheet. And I think he knew that I was never going to do it. So like one day he like messaged me and was like, "Oh, send me the list," and I did it. So then he put it in a spreadsheet, and I was like, "Sweet." So and it's like broken up into festivals, rough dates, rough application dates, whether we have a contact for it, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to take that one step further, and so we made the group and put that resource in there. And the concept was basically, I just found that people were missing out on opportunities because they weren't aware of them.
Yeah.
Like I was getting into all these festivals simply because I was on it. Like,
And you knew they were there. So if you don't know about it and you don't apply,
exactly.
you're not going to ever get booked for it.
Yeah. And I had so many homies, but like I'd be like, "Oh, did you apply for this?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I did. I'll do it tomorrow." I'm like, "It finished yesterday."
Yeah.
So whenever I apply for something, I just jump in the group now, which is now like, I don't know, 350 people strong, and put it up in there. And it was nice. Like at the beginning, I was the driving force, but then like after a while, other people start putting
doing it.
things
Yeah,
in
yeah.
before I'd even get the chance. And
Yeah. Oh, this is open.
Yeah.
Applications for this are open.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, and then from that made the business, and then have just been just trying to think of other alternative ways to continue to network and create our community in that way, and the producers meetup was one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Because like one thing about having you on the show, as opposed to a lot of other people I have, is it's usually very club centered. Whereas like with your stuff, it's more the doof and the festival sort of scene and stuff. So I was interested to find out from you, like how do you, and you sort of answered it already, but how do you first sort of get your foot in the door with, doofs and festivals? Because a lot of the times, you see people who play at all these ones and they're sort of like, they know someone there now. It's like you almost need to get that first booking and then you know someone and then it's sort of, and then you can sort of branch out to other ones. But
Definitely.
how does it, like, any advice for people who maybe want to play doofs or apart from joining the festival collective?
I mean, my main advice and the main thing I say to anyone that asks me that is apply for everything, expect nothing.
Yeah.
But just always apply for everything.
And then would you say like go to the events and
for sure.
and try and meet people? Like that's the same as anything really. Like it's the same as clubs and that.
Definitely. Yeah. And go to the smaller ones. Like if you can, I mean, obviously you have to start at the big ones if you don't know about them and that. But like once you start to know about the smaller ones, like I think when I first got back from Canada, I like went to my buddy Rupert's event that he runs annually called Grounded,
Yeah.
the permaculture action party.
Yep.
And like at that event, I met like all of the people that were going to set up the next 2 years of my life. Like,
And that's the thing, like the smaller ones, the people who probably run the bigger ones will go to them and stuff because they're like, we just want to be able to party, like have a bit of fun.
totally.
We don't have to do any work. Let's just get to this small one and, party and stuff. And then if you, happen to get a gig at that smaller one then, and they see you play or something, oh man, that was a sick set. Like, and then all of a
Totally.
sudden it's like when you put your application in for their festival, they've already sort of know who you
You're
are
on the
a bit.
radar.
Yeah, they know, they've seen the name, they've heard you play before and
Totally.
stuff. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
like that one, like I met Max who plays as Bumble.
Yeah.
And then Max got me into Dragon Dreaming and Regrowth, and then like a couple years of Dragon Dreaming in a row. I think it was the second year I did, like on that artist shuttle, I happened to make friends with a guy named Jordan who plays as Bloop. He's a Kiwi producer.
Yep.
And we were just homies for the weekend. And he was like, yeah, I'll get you some gigs over there. And like 3 days later, he messages me and has me my first 3 festivals in New Zealand that
That's
year.
sick.
Paid it for
That's
it
awesome.
myself. And then the following year, it went and turned into 6 or 7 festivals and 2 shows or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's that networking and just meeting people while you're there.
Totally.
But the other thing is, and I think this would probably be almost more important for the festival and doof scenes, is like the maintaining those relationships and the network that you build.
Mm-hmm.
Because like with a club thing, it's like, well, it's kind of every weekend.
Yeah.
You make that connection, you will see them in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, a week time, because you're just going out and you're going to be out there. But with the sort of doofs and the festivals, they're spread out, when they are, unless you're going to lots of them and you sort of see the same people. But
Totally.
otherwise, it's like, so how do you do that? Is that just something that you just sort of say hey to people every now and again, or when they're doing something online?
I mean, it's kind of changed now.
Yeah.
Everything's different now, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, when I first got back from like just touring for 6 months, or I was really impressed with Brizzy. Like this time last year,
Yeah.
Brizzy was going off.
Mm.
Like, I mean, I found that all of the crews that I'd been very fortunate enough to be a part of for a few years now had now kind of all cross-pollinated.
Yeah.
And so you'd be hard pressed to find a weekend where there wasn't an event on.
Yeah. And if you go to it, heaps of people are there from all the different scenes, so it's a good way. Yeah.
Totally. And I really enjoy it when it was like that too, because generally everything's held in, there's the couple of venues, Rumpus Room, Sub Rosa, that do hold the consistent ones.
Yeah.
But then like all the other stuff happens at like, a house party or a warehouse, or like
like they do an event, where they hire out a space or do
totally
wherever. Yeah.
And I love that because I think that makes it so like individual, and
Yeah.
it only happens there once a year or something.
Yeah. So I suppose it's just about to do that. In terms of that, it's just staying involved in the community.
Yeah.
Which there's always so many things going on because it is really a community. A lot of people who go to one doof will go to multiple. It's not like a lot of people don't just go, oh, I'm just going to, like with other festivals, it's like, oh, I'm just going to go to Stereo because I love the music they play there or whatever.
Yeah.
But like with with a lot of the doofs and festivals, they're like, it's more about the community and the culture and
Totally.
that kind of stuff. So people will go to more of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my recommendation is if you're applying for festivals and you're not getting in, I would immediately put in, or I think I've even done it in the past too. At the same time, I put in a volunteer application.
Yeah. So you can go and volunteer.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're really like wanting to just break in, you can even, I mean, there's always the sections that say like about your fee or whatever. You could even, say,
I'll pay you to play.
Don't do that.
I'll give you $1,000 to let me play.
Please don't do that. You're going to ruin it. Don't do that.
I'm just joking. Imagine that. Someone just comes in flexing money, wants to play at a doof or something. It's like, I'll give you $2,000 to let me play. They'd just be like, yeah, we could, we could put you on at 7 a.m.
What's that? You want to play before Opio? No worries. Just an extra $1,000.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
You're talking about the fee. Like you could put your fee as
you can
really
put
low as
negotiable,
0,
or just like that, like, so this kind of brings me back to a different thing, but diversifying in terms of like I originally got in because like my project was something different,
Yeah.
especially for the doof realm where they were trying to do more live stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but so I like found myself in this nice little niche where I was the perfect in between.
Yeah.
So I did get like picked up by all the crews and stuff pretty
Yeah, that's
quickly,
cool.
which
Yep.
was really good for me.
Yep.
But
Being
then
unique, like we said, yeah.
totally. But
Yep.
then from that, taking that opportunity then to like, being booked for B-Side, but then like, sending an email and being like, oh, I also do. At that point, I always put in MastaRyte and B-Side,
Yeah.
but I'd always put in the notes section, can do both projects for single negotiated fee. Eventually, that then grew into a workshop as well.
Yeah.
So, like, my consistencies of bookings and stuff like also came out of the fact that like one, they knew what they were going to get from me every time, but two, like they were always going to get like three things, and I
There's
found
more than just playing the one set or something.
totally,
Yeah.
and I found offering that too with like the single negotiated fee would usually land me on the money that I was looking for, rather than like having to negotiate each
Yeah.
one and going
Yeah.
underneath a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what do you do in the workshops then at these things?
So I was doing, I just called it live electronic production. Essentially, the concept was basically just to go over what I do with my
With your
equipment.
rig and stuff, yeah,
Yeah,
how it all works, yeah.
yeah, how I got into it, why I started with hardware, why I use software now, and but they were really interesting. Like I did a couple in like at Luminate in New Zealand, and that was awesome. Like
Yeah.
because it's that festival is basically based around workshops,
Yeah.
so there was lots of like I always find I have like something to say, but like, oh, well, I'm like, all right, cool. I got half an hour stuff to say, and then we'll like mess around for half an hour, and
It's
then
like a 2-hour lecture.
well, no, like usually that half an hour is done in like 10 minutes, and I'm like, what do I do? But I found it really cool over the years of doing the workshop. I just keep it super relaxed, and basically, like when I have an attentive crowd, they feed me the content.
Yeah,
You
exactly,
just
yeah.
stand there and you just answer questions, and it's
Yeah.
great. I don't even have to think about anything. People just ask me like, "What's this doing? Why is this doing?" And
Yeah.
next thing you know, 2 hours has gone by.
Yeah, it's easy when you've got that, engaged crowd who
Hmm.
actually wanna know and ask questions and stuff. It's so much
Definitely.
easier because it's like it's the same with anything when you're trying to teach or do a workshop. It's like, well, what do they wanna know?
Exactly.
And that's how people learn best, I think, is like when they're actually learning about things they wanna know.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sit up there and just tell them a heap of shit and talk at them, it's like, "Oh, I just wanna know how to plug in the chaos pads." Like,
Totally.
I don't care about how you use the software, like
Yeah.
it's yeah, so I think that's cool. And I think that's what you were saying there. That's that community and that sort of difference between like a music festival in terms of like, your Stereosonics and all that, and like a doof or a
Hmm.
festival that's more that doof vibe, it's that community
Definitely.
because it's got the workshops, it's got the other things that aren't just music,
Hmm.
the arts and all that
Totally.
other stuff. So I think that's really cool. That's different in that scene that I enjoy. Yeah, I think that's
Definitely.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and back to the volunteering thing. Yeah, like if you want to be a part of it, like don't be discouraged that your stuff's getting turned down. Just volunteer. Like
Yeah.
I always say, volunteer over buying a ticket. Also, volunteer pre-festival if you can, if you're not working.
And if you
Because
want to get involved in running festivals and all that kind of stuff, that's how you start. Like almost
hmm
everyone I know who's running festivals or has run festivals or is involved in any way at a higher level,
yeah,
they've generally come into whatever festival and that it is that they're doing stuff in as a volunteer.
yeah,
Almost always.
yeah,
Like it's very rare that you come in as, someone who's come from another festival or something and has all this experience. People
totally,
want to work with people that are, invested in the actual festival or whatever. It's
definitely.
not just a job,
No,
like
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
they wanna have people like that who have come and volunteered and experienced it and know what they're doing sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really good tip for anyone out there that maybe does want to get involved. And not just in festivals and dwarfs, clubs,
Yeah, anything.
anything. It's pretty much always volunteer as the start. And it's like
Exposure.
it's that exactly. But it's like people go to like I always find it really funny. People want to go and study this
Mm,
stuff at uni, like event management and stuff.
mm.
And it's like, well, Man, I think that's the total wrong way to learn event management in my mind. Like, I think it should be on the job because it's so specialized to
Totally. And
what
move
you're
around
doing.
departments too. Like,
Yeah, do a bit of everything. Yeah.
don't just be the like,
Be the logistics manager one year.
yeah,
Be the volunteer coordinator one year.
totally.
Be the artist liaison. Be the the director. Well, it's hard to be the director, but if you can be the festival director. But like obviously that's you got to work your way up to those things. But
Definitely.
it all starts from volunteering, proving that you are good at it and you could do it. And then, eventually people just give you a shot. Like I started volunteering. I think I started with Addicts as just helping out the artist liaison.
hmm
And then the next year they were like, "Man, you could do this. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sweet." I
Yeah,
was like,
cool.
so then I was the artist liaison,
Yeah.
and then it's like, then the next year I did logistics.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, do you want to like run this festival? Like, do you want to be the director for this one?"
hmm
Fucking oath I do.
Yeah,
like,
sweet. Yeah, yeah.
so, it's just about proving yourself, I think,
Totally.
and showing that you've
Participating.
got, yeah, and being part of the community and that. So,
hmm
yeah, I think that's really cool to, for people to get involved in
Yeah.
in any way possible, really. And what do we got coming this year? We got Elements has said they're
Yeah,
coming back.
Boho's just released their lineup to Bohemian Beat Freaks.
Yeah,
Or
where
their-
is
their
that? Is
first
that going to be here
round.
in Queensland?
Yeah, it's they're trying to do it at well, they are doing it at Land Cruiser Park again.
Yep.
So same place as Elements. I don't know if you've been either.
I don't think I've been
Land
there,
Cruiser
yeah.
is huge. It's two different parts of Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are they the only two ones? You should know all the festival. You're the
that's
guy
kind-
working for. You're the festival collective guy.
I mean,
Are there any other ones?
Yonder is still going ahead as far as I know. Applications for that closed yesterday. Earth Freak is going ahead. Applications for that close at the end of this month. Everybody.
Yeah, get in.
Other than that, I think
a bit
that's
tough, eh?
currently it. And I mean, like,
That Doof in the Sticks is on at the moment. The one that Arcadia run.
okay, just a little one.
You don't know that one?
No.
Yeah, it's just a little one. It is a
No.
little one.
Yeah,
I think it's just 2 days. It's out west somewhere, but that's on at the moment.
Okay.
And I was wondering if it would go ahead. Like
Yeah,
yeah, it's on. So I saw like because I'm in the event group or whatever. I saw the the description. Someone posting in there like day one, like
okay.
hit us up for the address, like 'cause it
Yeah,
was
okay.
very. I think they're keeping it very hush, for this one. So, but
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the way forward. It's actually like in a way, it's a really good opportunity with what's happened. It's terrible because it like a lot of events and organizations have taken a massive hit with all of this.
huge, yeah.
And might not even be able to operate anymore. But at the same time, like it is an opportunity for people to really like consolidate crews and like go back to doing. And it's for anyone trying to get into it, it's a great time to be trying to get into it.
Yeah,
Just having the little parties because that's going
Yeah.
to be your opportunity to meet the people who already are playing the big parties because there is no big parties to play right now.
Yeah.
So they'll be there. Like
yeah. Yes,
looking
it's a
for
good
any
opportunity.
chance.
Yeah, to sort of build that network like you're talking about.
Mhm.
There's only limited places you can go now, so I heard it was pretty quiet last night in the valley. Someone was driving through, I knew, and they were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they showed us that footage. I was like, man, I was there the other week. It was packed. Like,
Yeah.
because I went out early, like at 9 o'clock, and man, I had to line up. I was going to Prohibition, and I was lining up. I was at like 9 o'clock. I got there just after 9. I was down where that bottle was on the corner. Like it was
Mhm.
like the line was that far, and I was like, shit. Like, and I've never seen Pro-E that packed that early.
Yeah, true.
Even on a Thursday when it's like free pizza and free fucking, oh, not free, just cheap, drinks and stuff like are
Mhm.
pretty cheap. But yeah, man, it was packed early, like crazy. And they opened up the side, the next block. So
Yep.
it's just this big vacant block, dirt on the ground. They had a couple of like barrels around, some seating benches around the outside, and then like just a tent selling drinks. And so it was basically, it had like a real festival feel because it was like kind
Interesting.
of dark out there. Like there wasn't
Yeah.
much lighting. Everyone's just sort of in this big open area, just hanging out. You could hear the music in the distance, kind of thing.
Do you think that that's potentially like a loophole in terms
Yeah.
of because
Floor space.
it's square meterage, right?
They had a
So-
sign up, I think, that said they could have 550 people because they had of the floor space
because
they
the
had.
floor space.
But
yeah.
then now they've changed the rules to you have to be seated to drink. It's kind of like
Oh, wow.
yeah, at the moment they've changed it. They've rolled it
Yeah,
back, so you have to
everything's
be
gone back.
seated to
Yeah.
drink. So it's kind of like an invisible restriction they've put on people because now it's like, well, do you have 550 seats?
Yeah,
You know, like
totally.
it's how many seats do you have? Which sort of changes things up for
Yeah.
people, which is interesting, I
Like,
think.
I mean, and Sub Rosa keeps getting hit too, right? Like, I
Yeah,
saw them do a big post the other day
yeah,
about people not, well, standing up and dancing. I mean, it's so hard. Like,
yeah.
what do we
What is
do?
dancing? Is tapping your foot while you're standing dancing?
I mean,
But
there's,
now you can't even drink and stand, so it's like
yeah.
you sort of it's yeah, you're sort of limited even more. Yeah.
Totally. I think that with like everything that's happened in the last week, like people are starting to be more alert again. But I think like it was also like it was hard to in I feel like I don't want to go into this too much because it's like it's such a hot debate.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
at the same time, like just some of the ways that they rolled back the laws, like I'm sure everyone's seen it. It's that the sheet of or it was like no dancing at weddings and no this, but brothels were open.
Yeah,
Like
that's weird, like
that was like the one like thing for me that was like, what do you mean?
and that's the other thing is like, well, if you're DJing, can you dance? Like, because 'cause you're performing, you're doing your job, but
Yeah, do you have to sit down and DJ?
I don't know.
You imagine that you get
Yeah,
that's probably like the pay to play thing.
that's it, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's like it's weird with dancing, and even like I saw some guys who are out playing, and they're like, "Man, it's so weird to DJ at the moment." Like, "What do you
I
mean?"
bet.
And they're like, "Well, like usually you're trying to make people get up and dance, and now when you're playing music, you're trying to not make them get up and dance." Like,
Yeah,
it's a little bit tricky because it's like you want people to have a good time and enjoy the music, and be excited and
yeah.
love the music, but at the same time, you don't want them to dance.
Suddenly, everyone has become a lounge DJ.
Yeah, it's a strange like I saw someone they were like deep house DJs. This is your moment, like
Nah.
like this is your moment. It's like oh, that's so on
Yeah,
point.
it's
Yeah,
time for chill genres to
yeah,
shine.
yeah. It's shit you can just listen to and that. So when did you were talking about your B-side project? It's something you've been doing for a fair while when you were younger and
Mhm.
stuff. So how did you start in music initially? Like did
Um,
growing up were you playing in instruments or anything or
yeah,
what?
I mean, like I was the weird kid that like got into recorder before you learnt recorder, and
Yeah.
then realized it
That's
was like
hilarious.
really like uncool, so like stopped playing it.
Yeah.
Did trombone like in primary school as well. Stopped playing that too because I also thought it was uncool. Then I found guitar at that point in time,
And
and
you thought
I
that was cool.
did yeah, and I did guitar all through high school.
Yeah.
And the sound stuff kind of just came in like just out of real fortunate circumstances. Like in school, we had a music teacher who got a grant to get a sound system like a big PA, and they excuse me they made a sound team. So I was one of like the youngest to be in the sound team. So I
Yeah.
did it all the 5 years through.
Yeah.
He also got a grant to get a Pro Tools studio set up in our at school.
Yeah,
So I
sick.
was one of the only people like actually using that.
That's dope.
And so it just kind of introduced me to all of that really early. And then
How old are we talking here?
like 13 to
So high
17,
school, yeah.
all of high school
Yeah.
pretty much.
That's
Yeah.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
Yeah, yeah.
And then went to JMC Academy
Yep.
for 3 years, and that kind of really showed me two things. One, that I wanted to like pursue my music as a thing,
You're like, yeah, this
and
is for me.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and two, I really like the technology side of it.
Yeah.
Like everything else, I can kind of just like coast through. But then all of a sudden, we started doing music technology, and I was getting high distinctions, and I like they would, you know. Everyone else do this, and Blair, you do this,
Yeah, Vlad, you can do this.
and then
It's
help everyone else.
extension work or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, the extension program.
Give me more, give me
The
more.
gifted program.
Yeah.
The highly gifted. Yeah, so it was at JMC. So JMC was obviously after school then?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I did
after
it
you
straight
finished
after
school.
school for
Yep.
the 3 years, and then spent.
Is that how long it is? 3 years? Or are you
Was
doing
so I
part-time
did
or
a
something?
bachelor of popular music and performance. Yeah, it was no, it was full
Oh,
time.
cool. That's cool.
Mm.
What kind of stuff do you learn in that more? Is there a
So
lot
I
of
mean,
writing?
technically, it's a bachelor of entertainment and then it's in popular music and performance.
Yeah.
Basically, the way I like to explain it, it's just like an overview of the music industry
Yeah.
these days. So you pick an instrument. That's your primary instrument that you do like lessons on that all the way through.
What was
Um,
yours? Guitar?
guitar,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then all the way through I did like you do bands too, and think for the first 2 years you like go through the eras. So like you do 1950s and you encapsulate it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
blah 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 and go all the way through. And then by the last year you start doing your own thing.
Yeah. Man,
And
that actually sounds so sick.
yeah,
That sounds really sick.
that was pretty
I didn't
cool.
know. I haven't heard of this one before. Yeah,
Yeah,
for someone who does like an instrument or something who's in bands and live music and stuff, that's great to for the development to learn, like you said, the history,
totally.
and then start doing all that, and then move into doing your own stuff, plus learning the technology side of it. Like that's
Totally.
yeah, I love
Well,
that.
and we learn about copyright, we learn about music business, we
Yeah,
like all of it. But also, I mean, I'd love to go back and see it now because they've got like the whole new building now. I think it's been there for a couple of years, even.
do they have
But
any alumni program thing? Like, because I know if you at SAE, if you're a past student, you can book studio time and that.
they might. I mean, I've seen the guy who's still as far as I know, is still the head. Because when I was there, we were the second year to ever go through on that
Ah, okay,
campus.
yeah, yeah,
So like, it was very much like there was like 30 of us, and that was it. Like, as a very small group.
yeah. It's probably
Um,
changed a lot since then.
it's huge now. Well, they've
Yeah,
built
yeah.
a whole new building.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
They're doing, yeah,
They
they're
can
doing all
build a new
right.
building. They're all right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd be really like intrigued because like, when I was going through, you could see those things fall into place where like, the guy that came in and started doing I think he was just doing like the theory side of stuff. He's an amazing jazz pianist. Just ended up taking over the whole entire like place and programs
Yeah.
because like so you saw those pieces fall into place, which I
Yeah.
presume have probably now been there for like 5 or 6
Yeah.
years. But when I was there, it was very much
It was all
like
still, I was still figuring it out. Yeah, like, we don't actually know what we're doing here, but we're gonna roll with it.
it made it super interesting. But I met
Yeah.
some weird people. Like there's this South African guy who presumably back in the 80s or something was like the first CEO or one of the CEOs for Sony Music in Australia. And he like so he got a job and he was just doing I think he was doing the music business course, but he didn't actually care and didn't want to like teach any curriculum. So he just passed everyone and like his classes would just be him telling us crazy stories.
Back in the, I'm sure they've changed that now.
Oh,
He's
that
not
got
there
changed
anymore.
even when I was there. Yeah.
So
But it was
he
a
got the
good 6
can.
weeks.
Yeah, a good 6 weeks of get some mad goss like
Mhm.
inside stories. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So JMC, and so you did that for the 3 years straight out of school.
Yep.
So then you would have been like what, 2021 when you finished.
Yep. 2021.
And what happened there? What did you start doing then?
I mean, at that point, I mean, all through JMC, I'd been playing as Fox and Hound, so just doing a duo. I was just doing acoustic guitar and loop pedal, and I had a friend Ash who sings, and has an amazing voice. So we did that for that time. I think at that point in time, we were both just doing whatever. I was working at the casino, and Ash would just like had other things going on, and like we canceled a couple bookings. And at that point I was like creating the original B-Side setup
Yeah.
and started to shift it more towards just doing it on my own.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then so I made 2012, that was like the year that I finished uni. I self-recorded an album, released it, and then like just played as many shows as I possibly could. I used to play at the Music Cafe in West End
Oh, okay, yeah.
like 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And my thing at that point in time was like, now I was doing it on my own. I never wanted to cancel a gig. Like I wanted to always rock up and
Reliable,
well,
yeah.
and learn to play to no one the same I would play to 100 people or 1,000 people, or whatever.
Yeah,
So
get that experience and,
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. Of
yeah,
all different, like the variety of experience, not just playing the banging festival set when everyone's
totally.
vibing it. Yeah.
And that kind of also, now I think about it, like I think that was probably the beginning of my love for the business side of it as well.
Yeah.
Like sending, once again, this is before I was doing a lot of festivals, but sending out 100 emails, like looking at a town and looking at all the venues and expecting none back. But you do get one back, and then that leads to another one.
Someone
and another
sees you
one,
there from that gig in that town.
Totally.
And then oh, that's cool. they know you then when you email them the next time that, oh, you did that gig at down the road at Thingy. That was awesome.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
all leads to, but yeah, that like, I've always really, over the years, I've become more and more uh, not addicted, but just I love the business side of it as like
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
just as much as the musical
Yeah.
side.
That's really good though. That's that's
Yeah.
awesome for you, you know, because that's such an important side of it, and people don't
Well, it's a good tool to have, and
think about
I
that
don't
side.
rely on anyone. I would
Yeah.
love to have a team.
Wouldn't everyone?
Yeah.
It's like I was saying to someone the other day, I was like, man, I'd love to be able to like post like 5-6 times a day on Instagram. Like, I just don't have the time to be doing that kind of content. Like,
No.
but it'd be so good.
That's a lot of work. Like,
Yeah. That's a lot of thinking and planning about what you're gonna do. 5 posts a day, that's like 25 posts, you know, in the 5 days of the weekday sort
Yep.
of thing. It's like, so if anyone wants to intern,
yeah.
if anyone wants to intern and learn about this,
we're taking volunteer applications.
volunteer applications.
They're open from now until forever.
I actually would eventually like to have like a and get someone to intern as like a young Jamie, like on
Yeah.
Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
Someone who can like be on the computer and like make sure everything's running fine, and then be like, oh, look up that what year did that come out? Like,
Totally.
look it up, young Steve or whoever it is, like young Stevie. Look it up.
You should just get someone super old just to like.
Yeah, someone real old, and they're trying to go like use Google.
Old Peter.
Yeah. It's like, what's the first one up the top, and we can have it on the screen. They're like, nah, bro, that's not where we're at. So if you're good at Google and video and all that, send me a message.
Have you ever watched any of like listened to any of the like the very first Joe Rogan ones? Like,
Have you seen the first episode?
yeah, I listened
hilarious.
to it. Yeah.
Oh man, but you should watch it because it's even funnier. Because
they're just sitting on the computer.
on the
right?
computer, they're like, how do we reply to their messages? And then like at one stage, like the sign behind them falls down and shit. Like it's just fucking like mental. And they're like putting all these graphics on the screen. They're like, ooh, there's fire on the screen. There's all these flames. And then people are like, it's distracting. Get rid of it. Like, we don't know how to get rid of it. Like,
That's too good.
It's so, it's like so terrible. And it's so good to see that you can go from that to where it is now. Like, I love that there's that progression. And that's what I actually love about podcasts is that generally at the start, they're not perfect.
No.
They're like,
nor
rough.
should they be.
They don't know what they're doing. Like, it's a little bit, you know, they haven't learned, they don't have the experience. And then if you keep watching, you sort of it slowly gets better and better, and it's,
Totally.
I love watching that journey. You know.
Yeah, I mean the art of keeping conversation alive. Even like some of the ones I listen to now, with like it's just so interesting because I've listened to a lot of Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And like just the difference between like some people that like they want it's like their soapbox. It's their moment to speak straight about stuff. But I personally find the ones where it's more of a conversation. They're my favorite.
Yeah.
Which tends to be like his comedian buddies.
Yeah, because they're friends and stuff. Yeah, they end up talking about something like random and weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's my favorite as well. The old Rogan. I have to go take a piss quickly, so let's have a quick break.
Sounds good.
And then we'll be back.
You.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
We've got more beers. We've gone to the toilet. And now we've decided. Yeah, change some clothing.
I'm gonna take it off in a minute.
But now we're going to talk a little bit about, music production. We said, we talk a bit about Ableton and stuff because obviously we've had the producer meetups and that here, and I know you've got some stuff that you love. You're loving the wavetable at the moment.
Yep.
So let's get into Ableton. Obviously, how come you're so in love with the wavetable, and how did you find the new wavetable? Like,
I've always been like I was stuck into Massive for a long time. I think my buddy Haydos showed me Massive a long time ago, and I always made like all of my bass design on that.
Yeah,
I've always had like a very like strict wanting to create my bass design sounds like from scratch all the time.
Yeah.
I'm starting to over the years I've learned that, sometimes it's good to have a preset and then mess with it and work ins and outs and stuff when you get too much in a role.
Yeah.
But for a long time I just used Massive. And then I bought Serum and I had it there, but I just never accessed it for some reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I know like I really enjoy. I've watched some of Mr. Bill's tutorials, but like he uses a lot of third party plugins, but at the same time, like he believes in the power of like just the onboard stuff too,
Yeah, yeah,
and like the ability to, like, essentially you can make anything sound good, right? Like other stuff,
yeah,
like it adds its own like coloring and
yeah.
stuff to it.
Characteristics, yeah,
Yeah,
and
but at
stuff.
the same time, like you can use anything.
Yeah, definitely,
Um,
yeah,
and I think because of the B-Side project, because latency is such a big key factor, I have had this attraction to just using like the onboard stuff. So
yeah,
when they made the wavetable when it came out, I was like, oh, I'll have a look. And I think just because of its simple layout and it's an interface, like it's still built like all the other Ableton like
yeah,
onboard plugins.
yeah,
Uh, that I could work it out quicker,
yeah.
whereas Serum was like,
It's totally different, yeah. What's all
what?
this? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
where anything was.
yeah,
Whereas this one, I could just work it out really, like really quickly, and
yeah,
now I use it for everything.
yeah. So not just bass, like you use it for all the other stuff
Yeah,
too?
well, I mean, like I think when I mentioned earlier about like moving away from the funky stuff because I was going for the same things all the time, in that process, I started to really like wanting to like double down on my sound design a bit more and
Yeah,
like, yeah, like design different patches, but then also be like, instead of, you know, all right, cool, now I need a melody line on a new instrument, how about like I resample this thing I've already done and then take this tiny little snippet and then like do some stuff to
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and like basically like create everything out of like what's already there,
yeah,
like once you hit that point of being like, where am I going?
yeah, yeah. So you sort of commit to that sound then, and then sort of almost remix it, re-edit it, like what you've
Yeah.
already got.
Well,
Yeah,
just take what you already got. Like, I mean, by all means, like keep creating, create. But
yeah,
when you hit that point, where you're like, oh, like you might just be adding stuff for the sake of adding stuff.
yeah,
At that point, then you're like, all right, cool. Now I'll take like a little bit of this, and maybe that can be my riser if I just put a delay on it with a pitch bend.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly with the pitch bend. And I saw like with one of the tracks you're doing that we looked at
Hmm.
in the producer thing, you're starting to get a bit more into the pitch bend with the bass. I saw. I think
Mm.
you were really using the pitch, like there was
Hmm.
heaps of like pitch bending stuff, which was sounding really cool with those bass lines.
Yeah,
You know, with the vibe and the genre that you're doing, like
totally.
yeah,
Well,
those were pitched.
I've been enjoying, yeah, using the automation on the transpose rather than I mean, I find like I know my way around the keyboard pretty well. I do enjoy these days because I generally use the computer keyboard just to nut out ideas,
Yeah,
which is another reason I love Ableton so
yeah,
much, just that functionality. But now these days, because I know my way around a C minor or C major scale, like in and out, I just use like my MIDI effects and repitch it to get it into a different
so
key.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Just put it up 7 tones to put it in G instead of C or whatever. Yeah,
Totally,
yeah,
yeah, but then it's still just all there. I don't need to learn those extra
yeah.
bits, but I do find that like even with that,
'Cause it's the same intervals.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But
yeah,
but like with that, like my actual playing, like I'm not doing anything out of like super crazy. Like I'm
yeah.
still going to
'Cause you're
my
just
like
playing
my
it in
one
C.
5 4 3. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
all
yeah.
very the same, but in a different key. So
Yeah,
I like that about the transpose thing because I'm writing in it and it becomes less about muscle memory and
yeah,
more
yeah.
about like just
And less about knowing your
randomness.
scales.
Yeah,
You don't have to know your scales really then,
exactly.
oh, what's the third in a B flat major scale? You're like, fuck, what is it? And you gotta
Yeah,
figure it out, like
totally.
so yeah, I think that's important, I think, to know. Like, you don't have to know music. I think music theory for music production a lot of the times is you need to know the basics in terms of the intervals, like we were
Hmm.
saying, like the 1 3 5,
Totally.
sevens, even diminished stuff
Yep.
and that. Like, it's good to know that stuff in the intervals because then, like you said, you can just transpose it to whatever key you want.
Exactly.
Technology,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like so.
Yeah.
I think that's important for people to know. Have you ever played around with modes? Do you know what modes are?
Yeah, I know what modes are.
Yeah, modes are crazy, man. But
Um
some of them are really cool. Like if you want a specific sound from it, like
totally.
like if you want that Egyptian sort of,
Hmm.
like Middle East sort of sound, the Fajarian and stuff, like
Yep.
modes and stuff are really cool. And like people don't know that it's just like modes are The intervals are to do with just playing the white notes on a keyboard or a piano and starting. So C, like major, is like obviously starts on C and plays all
Yep.
the white keys. I think Dorian starts in D and just plays all the white keys as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
then the next
Yeah,
one
so it's
is
just a C
starts
major
on
scale, but starting on a different note.
yeah, and that
Um,
gives it a totally different vibe for the intervals and stuff because of how the keyboard's set up.
totally.
And then when you transpose it to other keys, then it's like just it's cool to play around with modes, I think.
Definitely.
Especially if you've got like I know a lot of like arpeggiators and things like that that
Mhm.
have these chordal or these key transpose type things in them will have certain modes
Mode
where it's
selection.
like where it's like well a B flat Dorian.
Mhm.
Now we're in B flat Dorian. So when you use the arpeggiator tool, if you start, putting notes in, it'll actually put in Dorian, the notes for a Dorian
Totally.
key or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's some really cool stuff in there. But that's like you don't even need to know that stuff
No,
really. It's just if you want to go down that rabbit hole and like
totally.
learn some cool stuff. But I find writing in those keys sometimes is really cool.
Mhm.
And what I do as well sometimes with working on different keys where I don't know the notes is have you ever heard this technique where you figure out what all the notes are in the scale,
Yep.
you write them in MIDI on your piano roll,
Mhm.
and then you drag them to before the clip, so it's before the clip,
Okay.
and then you press the fold button.
Mhm.
And so what the fold button does is it just gets rid of all the notes when something's not being played. So then you've got literally all the notes in the scale
Okay, yeah.
already. That's all that will be there
Oh, yeah, I know what you
in the
mean.
actual piano roll.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, and then you can like if you don't know your notes, it's easy because you just go, oh,
I
three
see.
steps up.
So
So it actually just puts it into the key for you almost. Like,
yep. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool. And it's something that you can use to quickly just so when you go to the piano roll, any note you click on in the MIDI
Mhm.
piano roll is going to be in key.
Yep.
So it's a real cool one for people who want to write in a different key, don't want to use the transpose, but
Yeah.
want to do that.
I
So
actually haven't done that before, but I do like. I mean, I love the push for its functionality in that same sense. The fact that you can,
yeah, you
uh,
can just change it.
yeah. Well, like that's right. Like when I'm doing it with the B-side stuff, like it, you can't hit a wrong note.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything's gonna be fine. Yeah, that's really cool. Hey, when you get those little things, and it helps with the live stuff. Hey, because
Mm,
it's like you said, you can't hit a wrong note, and it's not that you would, but it's the fact that you just know that you're not going to. It's just that
totally.
it's that gives you a bit more confidence to know that it doesn't really matter what I play, it's gonna work.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
to an
I'm.
extent. Obviously, it
y-
does matter what you play. You want
Yeah.
it to be as good as possible, but yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it also comes down to I agree with the simplicity thing. I think over the years, I've met so many people that are so like extremely talented at like one thing on that, and for a long time, like I feel like I struggled with that because I felt like I wasn't like particularly like over the top with anything. But
yeah,
like what I eventually realized was I'm a songwriter. I just really like writing songs in any capacity
jack of all
and
trades.
performing. Yeah, well, like, and I don't need to be like, I don't need to know like all of this extra stuff or be like the best guitar shredder or something. But like in the performance sense, like, I'm just playing like a seventh chord on the pads, but like I learn over years, like, because people can't fully see what I'm doing up there. Like instead of just being like this and doing my thing while I'm looping it, like,
Yeah,
you
bigger
put,
actions to
yeah, you
make
put
it.
those
It's a
actions in to
performance.
show people that like,
I'm doing something.
it's actually happening.
Yeah, because you don't have like it'd be really cool for your sets to have like a pointing down camera view
One
of
day.
your one day of your set, but that'd be really cool, so they can see. Oh,
Well,
he's
the
doing stuff.
audio
Yeah,
visual is actually where I would like really like to take it.
yeah,
I'd like to eventually maybe once again go back to the team thing. Have like a homie that does VJing.
yeah.
To have those like live streams coming in and be able to like I don't know,
Cut to you on the with the shot of the equipment, and then
totally.
cut to you, and then visuals, and
Yeah.
over the top. Yeah,
Well, I thought of other ways of being able to do it, like in a solo capacity too, because always trying to think of how to make it cheaper or whatever.
yeah.
But like I could have it so I design it with someone, but then you could have it so my MIDI out from I just have like an extra. channel that's just sending MIDI information in my template. And so when I get to like certain points where stuff is pre-sequenced and it's the big chorus or whatever, it would when I trigger that whole line, it would trigger that clip to tell the visuals
To do
to
something. Yeah.
change to the next loop sequence or
Yeah, or
whatever.
whatever it is.
And
Yeah.
then like maybe after like 30 seconds of like me not doing stuff, like if I'm singing like on the pads, it would then trigger back to like just a like a visual thing.
Yeah.
And then once you press something, the cameras would come back into play.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
But
cool. Yeah,
that's
that'd
also
be.
then like
It takes it.
so much
It takes it
time.
to a whole nother level of organizing and figuring out your setup, doesn't it? Because you're not just doing audio, then you're starting to incorporate other software and other, video
Totally.
stuff. You probably need another computer
You
to
need
run
another
that.
computer.
Like,
Yeah.
you need. There's heaps of stuff involved with it. So
Have you ever seen do you know Dan, a Mega Child?
I think so.
Okay, he a very talented producer and sound engineer. He was like one of the sound techs when I was at JMC.
Yep.
And I've done some recordings with him over the years, but he does his project, A Mega Child, and he's on a kit. He's taught himself how to play the kit at the same time as like doing the keyboard and machine with samples.
Yeah. So
Um,
just like next level. Sort of,
yeah, I think he does an in arrangement mode, so it's like all semi
yeah.
like it's all planned out and stuff. But he does that because all of the visuals and stuff are all linked and pre-programmed and
Yeah.
to his whole set
So it's
too.
a whole show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it-
yeah.
it's incredible. He doesn't do heaps of shows, but like saw
It
him
takes so
manifest
long
back
to
in the day.
organize one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, yeah. How long does it take you now, like nowadays, to sort out? Like, if I was to say to you, like, you had all your gear here with you, I was like, oh, do a little half-hour set for us. Like, would you just be able to jump up and do it straight up, or you don't need to really plan as
No,
much?
my template just like continues to grow and change
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, no, I don't like. So I had two like templates that were they're the same template, but like a different set of songs. Because
Yeah.
there's so generally the way it works is like I will like try and like begin the set um like creating every single part so like everyone can see when they've come into it like I'm making it all but then as it like progresses through, I mean, when I used to originally do it, I do song, stop, build it all again, stop, build
Yeah.
it all, and it was a lot of like dead air time, like loading a new template.
Yeah.
And two, I realized that like, in the doof scene, as much as I'm still trying to do this performance and stuff, like a lot of people just don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
What's the music stop for? Like, they don't
exactly,
understand. Yeah, they don't get it. Yeah.
yeah. So to keep it like audibly interesting as well as having the
Yeah.
things basically like build it all, and then I'll have stuff that is pre-sequenced. So maybe the next song I'll just like take the guitar out, it'll like drop straight into the next track. And then like, and then do some guitar loops and stuff. And like you're just stripping back for like maybe 2 or 3 songs, like you're just stripping back an element and then rebuilding that. So people can still see stuff's happening and that,
Yeah,
but
yep.
like other things are still going
It's
on.
a bit more integrated now to
Yeah.
yeah.
And then every 4 or 5 songs, like bring it all the way back to
Yeah.
like something super chill, build
Yeah.
it all again and show
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
But the biggest, I'd say the biggest and best thing I've discovered over the last few years was the resampling. So I was trying to work out, Beardy Man does it so he sings and he automatically maps it to his keyboard. So I was trying to work that out, and there was like some Max for Live, like you could build a plugin to do it.
Yeah.
I tried to do it one night. The guy that like did the video was like literally drunk when he was doing it, and he was like, "I'm
Yeah.
so drunk right now, but you just do this," and I did it all, and it didn't work.
Have you ever used the I think it's called the Thumb? It's a Native Instruments plugin.
Mm.
It's basically to do that.
One of the Tim
isn't it?
Exile ones,
Yeah,
right?
it's basically to do what you're talking
I
about.
think
isn't
so.
it?
I thought that, my understanding of it was the finger.
Might be the finger.
I think it's the finger.
Yeah, not the thumb. It's
'cause
something on your hand.
He's
yeah.
got the mouth
I
as
think
well.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think it is the finger.
Have you ever seen him play live? He's another inspiration too. He does some crazy shit.
Because I've seen the video of that because I've got Native Instrument
Yeah.
like complete. So I think I've never used it, but I've got it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember
There
watching
might
the
be
video.
functionality to do that. My understanding was that it was each, like he just had like preset effects almost on
Okay,
on
yeah, it
different
could have
ones.
been. Yeah, it
but I
might have
know
been.
that it was
So it wasn't sampled as much.
he was
as-
using a entire piano, so like I dare say you could set aside an octave for doing that.
You could do it by just recording in and then slice to MIDI, but you'd have to do that. It's not a plug-in.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, there was.
You'd have to actually
You can
do
do it
it
in Max
on the
for
fly.
Live, but you need to like build something. I'm sure there's someone out there. If there's someone out there,
Yeah, if
let
anyone
me
knows
know.
of one where it like, so basically what you want is something that automatically samples and slices to MIDI.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can play it all on the
yeah. I
keyboard.
just want to like a little record, and then yeah, I'll just. It's almost like it'll just record into a sampler, and then automatically be available on the push to be repitched and with my own racks
I think you can
affected.
do that with an MPC.
Probably.
They fucking cost a mint.
Yeah, and getting them to integrate with Ableton, I don't know, it might not be that hard, but I've never tried.
Yeah.
But
So you haven't found a way to do it easily yet?
so I got like, I mean, I gave up only because in the process of trying to do it, I had never actually used the resample function in Ableton before, and so I discovered the resample function, and all of a sudden I realized what I could do is, so I had this kind of like, it wasn't really an issue, but I found that after a while I was very much like, originally I'd do a lot of improvisation,
Yeah.
but then it became a very calculated set for a
Yeah.
long time, and it was very, this song into this song, this is the
Yeah.
transition, and it was all very like calculated,
Because
and
you
I
knew how it would work.
yeah, and you know, I could
It
solo.
works.
Yeah.
It works. Why break? You know, yeah.
Totally, and like solos and stuff are like, you know, all improvised, but everything in between was calculated. But I started doing, a couple years ago, I played at Woodford for a friend's yoga workshops, and so that was more like she just gave me intentions and stuff, and so I just did like very like, one was just like super atmospheric stuff, and
Yeah.
but that brought me back to the improvising side of it, and then anyway I discovered the resample thing, and what I realized was basically that I can, so I like, instead of just going straight from this song into this song and whatever, I can then like, I found if I take the percussion out, generally is the best way to go about it. And then I resample it all. So I have I arm my resample channel. I hit my clip, and it's always, so under each like pre-sequence section, I have 2 lines of dummy clips that will turn everything off. So while I'm resampling everything, so everything that's playing at that point in time is resampling to this clip. When it's got to the end of the loop section, I trigger the whole line, and so it turns everything off and now plays it all from an audio clip. So I've taken everything that I have that's like
Yeah.
8 tracks long or what in MIDI,
And then you can put
it
clips
to,
on to go over the top.
well, and
which
it's
is-
just a single audio
Yeah.
clip, put a filter on it, put an LFO on it, and I've just turned an entire song into a melody line. And like, then you can like repitch it, or like, like change the BPM, or even just bring the same song back in, and it's added a whole nother element. And you
Yeah.
can just do that forever.
Forever,
I
yeah.
call it the wormholes. So I just got these 2 resample channels with effects racks that I built and I know my way around, and I just love that now, because I can just literally just play, and my songs that before were only ever performed as songs have now turned into like very like, I know that drum beat and I know that melody line and stuff. So now I'm just picking and choosing, and then like, instead of even playing the song, I'll go like halfway down my template and find another bit that I know is in the same key and put that in, see what that sounds like. And
live remixing, basically.
Yeah.
Or live mashing up, because you're using stuff from other clips or whatever, or other
Totally.
songs even that you have, that are your own. So,
Yeah.
that's
the
cool.
wormhole.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a wormhole for sure. Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. And that's what's so good about live, is that it's not just a production tool.
No.
It totally is alive, and I think that's what really makes live stand out compared to all other DAWs. Is it's like you can produce in it just as well as you can do the live stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, when it comes to production, it's on that same level as all the other DAWs.
Totally.
But when it comes to live stuff, nothing's on Ableton's level. Is it?
No.
Do you think?
they're
Like,
not-
I don't really know. I'm not in the live
Neither
space.
neither
but
do
yeah.
I. I know one guy who was trying I know like FL has done some kind of performance thing. Is that a dirty word around
Oh
here?
no, it's not a dirty word, but like I couldn't imagine using FL Live. Like I couldn't imagine how you would use it live, apart from if you had it all arranged,
I have no idea. But
pre-planned.
I
Yeah,
just know that they created something that was attempting to emulate it in some format. Obviously, Machine has also like probably been like they're trying to bridge that gap, and I think establish themselves more as a DAW rather than just being a tool.
yeah.
But yeah, nothing. Not that I'm aware of.
Didn't we
Nothing
have a
does it
few?
like
We
live.
had someone who came
Use a
to the
machine.
yeah, that just used
Yeah,
Machine.
Clinton. Yeah.
Clinton, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Clinton. He just uses Machine to
Mm-hmm.
do all this stuff, and then I suppose that'd be cool to write with, eh? Like that'd be
Oh,
so
it's
dope
such a
to
great
write with,
tool.
and then like you could do the other stuff later, like bounce out stems once you've got it all sorted,
Totally.
and
Well,
then
that's
mix it
how
down.
MastaRyte started, was just
Yeah,
on
okay.
that. And then eventually I realized Ableton was the better format than trying to run it through all my looping equipment. So at that point, yeah, that's exactly what I did. I just bounced out stems and everything was just in stems and Ableton, and then eventually I just made the full switch, and now I
Yeah.
don't use Machine at all. But
So when you do like a MasterRyte set, is that a DJ set then, or is it still a
these
live set?
days it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Used to always be, I was very like purist in the sense of like I had to play all of my original music for a long time, which was fantastic and great. But
Then you grew up.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to diversify, and I mean, I guess back then I was probably writing a lot more tunes. It takes me a bit longer these days, so
But I think the other thing is that like as you go through it, you realize that the most important thing is the end product.
mhm,
Like it's great to be true to yourself and to play your own music and what you love, but at the same time, the most important thing is that everyone's having fun and enjoying it and that it's a good
totally,
end product. There's no
totally,
point in getting up there and playing all your own tunes if they're fucking shit and no one's gonna
yeah,
have a good time.
yeah,
Maybe you could drop a few in between some other
yeah,
tunes and it'll be a way better time. Like so I think so many people get the end product's got to be good.
yeah. Well, it's
It
the
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how unique or how original it is to you. If it's not good, who gives a fuck?
totally,
Like no one's gonna listen if it's not good.
totally.
So
It's the beauty
yeah,
of the journey as well. Like
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I've like. I was once again a purist for so long in terms of I'm a producer, I'm not a DJ, but like
yeah,
had over the years then realized just like really like learnt to enjoy the journey of
yeah,
that, and I don't know. There's a lot to be learnt in production from DJing.
yeah.
Even
And vice
just
versa.
even just like arrangement and like stuff like that. Like I found that when I used to write my songs, um, I never created any like very viable sections to get in or out of the track.
Yeah.
It was
Intros
like
and
track
outros.
starts, track ends.
Intros and outros. Yeah,
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 and like and I did it was fine when I was just doing my own tracks because I just dropped the next song in, or like it would kind of work or whatever. But
mm,
as soon as I tried to put that with other people's songs, I was like, wait, it's not working. Like, what's happening
yeah.
here? And
So you need to figure that out. Yeah, intros
yeah,
and outros, man, important.
hugely.
So important for music, and people don't
Hmm.
like because it's not the banging part of the track, or it's not the interesting or fun or part of
Totally.
the track, but it's like, man, you need good intros and outros so that people can. Otherwise, who's gonna play your music
Yeah,
if it's really hard to play?
totally.
Yeah,
Well, and especially, I mean, I've always like written and played stuff with like usually a lot of swing or
mm,
break beats, and trying to mix one person's swung break beats to another, like they might be
they can be.
harmonically okay and in the right BPM, but you
Yeah,
put them
they
together
just
and you're like,
don't.
fuck.
The snares are hitting on different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How
You're
swung
like,
do you have
what?
that song?
You're like, fuck, bro. Yeah, I suppose that's the problem sometimes with some of those genres. Like it's easy. A lot of the time, it's very easy with like the houseier stuff that I do. It's like the swing's not really gonna because the kick's always on the beat.
Totally.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
easy. But I also come from like a backbeat ground, so it's
Yep.
like back then it was like when you're having tracks and you're trying to mix tracks in, you're just like, oh fuck, these tracks would be so dope together, but it's like, oh, they just don't really work. Like
Totally.
it's sort of just too swung and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I realized with that, like when I started doing more DJing and looking at songs, because I still I still DJ in Ableton.
Yeah.
So I still haven't like really. I mean, I know my way around a pair of CDJs and stuff,
So
but
how do you
like
do that then? What do you use?
I just built a template. I used to use a long time ago. I used one of Ilgate's templates, which was for an APC 40, like the original one.
Yeah.
And you basically just like warp tracks and then break them down into like I don't even break them down anymore, but like start, breakdown, drop, whatever.
So you just trigger it from anywhere you want.
Yeah, you just have it's like essentially cue points, right?
Yeah.
And they're already there. And then he just had like a bunch of effects and stuff. So and it was just set up like a mixer. It was just left and right, and that's essentially what I've done with mine. But I now use the iPad and Touchable to do it because I use Touchable in the B-Syde interface too, but I used it just to control my master effects over my like breakdown of like highs, mids, and lows. Well, it's more like melodies, bass, and drums.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the DJ and stuff, the clips are just there, and Touchable just has like um the automatic like loop functions at the top, so it'll just change the loop markers like in your actual individual clip,
Yeah, cool.
which makes it really easy, and you can shorten and lengthen them really
That's
easy.
dope.
And then basically I just send both channels out, and they go out sends only to 3 return tracks that are just have a 3-band EQ on it,
Yeah.
with the highs, mids, and the lows
Yeah.
soloed. So when you set it up, you've got you got your volume, and then for both tracks you got highs, mids, and lows. So that's all just right there. You can clip them and the loop thing, and then I
Yeah.
just got a couple effects that I can jump into.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Just makes it nice and easy and
yeah,
simple. And I
all
just
in the
carry
box.
around I mean, after years and years of dragging around way too much stuff, it's nice to
Yeah.
rock up with a backpack.
Yeah, exactly. It's even nicer to just rock up with nothing and just USBs and headphones. That's way better.
That's actually kind of like where I want to take that side of it.
Can you do much like have you done much DJing and stuff? Do you know your way
Only
around
with
decks?
Ableton?
So you've never like really got around decks much? Or
I
anything?
know my way around a mixer. I could like slowly work out like a pair of
Yeah.
CDJs, but like no, I haven't
You've
particularly
never
used
really,
them.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, cool. That's interesting. That's so interesting that you're doing the DJ thing through, and I know heaps of people who do that
Mm-hmm.
through Ableton. But yeah, it's interesting, man. Like,
I do find. Do you think that like record box or whatever it is that generally record box,
yeah,
like there's some kind of like compression algorithm or like
Mm,
limit, because I don't know, whenever I'm running into a channel, maybe it's just the way I've got my template set up.
yeah,
I always feel like the volumes are good and everything's sweet, but I always like feel like the next guy that comes on after me with a couple of USBs that goes in, like his lines, they're all sitting at the same as mine, but it's a shitload louder.
yeah. Maybe I don't know. Like, is he still running it?
Just running,
Is with his
yeah.
Unity?
I mean,
Like, is it's all the same Unity
yeah,
and
like
stuff?
from what I can tell, like, I've just, I don't know. I thought maybe it would be something.
If there's
to do
anyone
with-
out there who knows, let us know. Like
Please.
Ableton running in Ableton, and I have noticed that when I used to use, because back in the day when I first started, I started on Tractor.
Yep.
And so I used to start on Tractor with a little controller, eventually moved to CDJs, and I was using CDJs, but then some gigs I would use Tractor where you could plug into the CDJs.
Yep.
And even when I run Tractor through that,
Yep.
where it's using the CDJs as a sound card into the mixer's just being used as a mixer.
Yep.
Same thing. Someone would come and play USBs afterwards, and it would sound fuller, bigger,
Yeah.
louder than what I was playing, even if it was at the same sort of volume.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think it maybe
Yeah.
there might be something in there that happens, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No,
I
yeah,
I
just
understand what you
curious.
mean. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If anyone knows out there, let us know, because that's interesting. We might have to hit up Pioneer. We'll have to get someone from Pioneer on the
Yeah.
show.
I mean, it's been a thing enough for me to really be like, all right, I'm pretty sure it's a thing. Like, and
Yeah,
I'm
it's
actually really
interesting. I wonder what
curious
it
to
is,
start doing a bit more DJing
Yeah.
on CDJs, just to even see like, see the translation of my own productions onto that. Like, will it be the same? Like,
You'll probably
flip,
do it,
or-
and you won't want to go back to DJing on Ableton anymore. You'd be like, oh, it's so easy. Like,
I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
the idea. Like, I mean, the inspiration behind that came. I think I listened to a podcast, Duncan Trussell and Mr. Bill,
Yeah.
and like,
fuck, that'd be a dope one. Like,
it
Duncan's
is
the
super
trooper.
dope. Yeah,
Fucking love that dude.
yeah,
I used to listen to his podcast so much.
yeah.
Fucking what was it? The Duncan Trussell Family
Family
Hour.
Hour.
Yeah, it
Well,
used
have
to
you
be.
seen the Netflix thing now that they?
Yeah, what's it called
I
again?
can't remember,
It's
but
something crazy. But I
it's
remember
super
what
weird.
I remember. Like, I saw the thing of Netflix come up, and I was like, that looks pretty crazy, like an animated cartoon, like thing. Clicked on it, and then like he starts talking about all the stuff, and I'm like, that definitely sounds like Duncan Trussell. I was
yeah.
like, that's got to be him. And then I had to go to the notes and look, and I was like, oh, that's totally him. Like, it's just kind of him just going on rants with someone else, like probably or just on his podcast.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
well, I think
Like,
it is just things from the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, because he's got some crazy ones, man. One of the most powerful podcasts I've ever listened to was him talking to his mum, who had terminal cancer throughout her whole body and was going to die in like a month, and doing a podcast with her, like an hour
Wow.
podcast, talking about, and she was just like so. Because she was like a psychologist and all this. And so
Wow.
he's like, and so he's, he's all sad. She's like, don't be sad. She's like, we've had some really good time. You know what I mean? Like,
Crazy.
so hectic.
I'll have to check
Like,
that out.
oh man, like when I was
Heart-wrencher.
listening to it, I was just like, but she was so like positive and happy about it. Like, like, oh, we've done all this. Like, I've seen you do all these great things. And,
yeah.
and he's like, I just don't want you to go. And he's like, she's like, but it's my time. Like, and yeah,
Wow.
real, like,
She's like
out of all the
peace with
podcasts
immortality.
I've listened to, like, that was one of the, like, not heavy, but like so powerful in terms of like she was so comfortable with it, with her son trying to impart that onto him that it's okay. Like, it
Yeah.
was such a, man, like, I think everyone should listen to that because it's such a accepting of death.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah,
such
yeah,
a, like it happens to everyone. So it's like, man, that was hectic podcast. But
Yeah,
love Duncan Trussell.
interesting.
Great podcast. Anytime he's on Joe Rogan as well. Did you ever see that show that Rogan and Duncan Trussell did? It was
Like the
like
podcast or
no, it was like a 6-7 part series where it's like they would look at all like supernatural, like conspiracy, like and they'd go looking for aliens. They went looking for Bigfoot. They went.
is it Joe Rogan questions
everything. Yeah.
I don't think I think maybe I've seen little bits of it, but they did mention it on one of the ones recently.
It's pretty funny, man. Like some of that, like it's a really good one.
Yeah.
Where they look at all like they go. Like, we went to look for aliens. There's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
We were trying to find them. There's none. We went all these places. Bigfoot. There's no Bigfoot. Like, we went, like, we interviewed all these people. Like, yeah. I love that one.
They
Duncan
had
Trussell's
one
a legend.
recently where they were re-interviewing. He was re-interviewing someone that has like their UFO enthusiasts.
Bob Lazar? What was it? Bob Lazar?
It was not Bob Lazar, but it was like people that had worked. The guy that had originally interviewed Bob Lazar and followed that rabbit hole. So that was
that's
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I like it because he like entertains them, but then at the same time, like he doesn't like.
He kind of like doesn't. Yeah.
Well, like if he's like, there's something that's a bit far fetched, he'll
like,
question it.
Yeah. Give it a bit of a question, but yeah, entertain their ideas.
But back to what I was saying about the Mr. Bill thing was like he's been an admiration for performing live for a long time. He's like the reason why I did do only original tracks for a long time. Always loved his original live sets because he's pretty much always done that. And actually one of my favorite shows I've ever seen was him at Regrowth in 2017, 16. A year that's not this year. He did it he was doing it for a while with a drummer.
Yeah.
And it was
I think I've seen some footage of that. Yeah.
super gnarly. He his laptop had actually his template was so chockers that he was running off a desktop unit. So he'd bring a bloody desktop unit with it.
Because it's so
but
massive.
fried on the plane or something. So he ended up running off a laptop. So I had to reload like halfway through the set. But
So, all right, guys, I just got to stop so we can I got to restart my computer to reset the cache and the RAM. And
yeah. I have also done that many times.
Yeah. So you're just like respect.
Yeah,
You know what it's up
totally.
to.
Oh, I love seeing people have technical difficulties.
Yeah, because you're like, I know.
Totally.
Yeah, you can relate to it.
Yeah, when I saw Subtract live at Laneway like a long time ago, I remember they had heaps of technical difficulties, and before that time, I didn't have my stuff fully dialed in, so I'd always had heaps of like technical issues. And at that point, I
So you're
was
just
like
it's not
watching them,
just
and
me.
I was like,
It's not just me.
"It's everyone.
It's everyone. It's not
It's
just
okay.
me. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was him and the drummer, and I just couldn't believe how like dialed in it was, like to his music. I didn't think that it would work so well. And then
Yeah.
he's doing all like his like weird like rhythmic melodic elements on a Roland SPD, but he's doing like crazy triplet fifth timing and all this like
Yeah.
just stuff that you're just like I mean a lot of people would
How
just
are
be
you
like
doing that?
woo you, and I'm
Yeah,
standing in the front being like ah!
How do you play that? You know, like, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, it's hectic, man. The live, there's so much you can do with live, but it's like how much time and effort you put into before the perform. It's all the preparation, right?
100%.
Like getting all your templates set up, getting all your routings, or how you're gonna flow with the set,
Totally.
getting all your hardware working with your software. There's so many things to think about, isn't there? Yeah.
Totally. I mean, like it's live, but at the same time, it's like also like probably like the most pre-organized thing possible.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
it has to be.
Yeah, of
Imagine if you
course.
just stood up there and you're like, new live set.
Yeah, I think the most crazy thing I've done when I've done anything live is I think not even live, man. I think me and my mate we because with Tractor
Mm.
you can actually like send via Wi-Fi and sync your time clocks with people. So like I could have a set of decks with Tractor on it here, and he could have a set of decks on Tractor on there, and
You
we're
can
going to
do
be
it
able
via
to see,
Wi-Fi.
and we're able to see
Mm.
what tempo each other is
Yep.
at on our one.
Can you slave?
Yep.
Yeah.
Slave Master, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do that, all that kind of stuff. Which is that was really cool to do with a friend. But yeah, and then just a few pads and stuff. I used to actually, this is funny. I used to have I think it's like a Korg. It's got the little XY, and then it's got like the 8. It's like 16 pads.
Yeah.
I used to have one of them, and I used to sit
nanopad.
a nanopad. Yeah. And I used to have that plugged into Tractor, and I used to have it with effects. So they were all, each one would turn on the effect,
Yeah.
and then the XY would control the parameters
Oh,
of
that's
the
cool.
effect. So I'd actually get up and have it like a guitar and be like pressing buttons and playing like on the Chaos pad, like or on the XY pad. Like that was so fun to do just for effects and stuff. Like
totally.
rolls and
Yeah.
like beat rolls
Yeah.
and like all kinds of stuff.
I love those little. I mean, the nano control. So it's like the same unit, but just with the sliders.
Yeah, sliders
has
and
always
knobs
been
and stuff,
a part of my
Yeah.
the Ableton rig, but I just love like they're cheap. You plug them in, they work.
Yeah.
Like,
That's all you want. Like it's basic. You can set it up how you want, and that's the thing I tell people as well, which is sort of like works into your realm of what you do. Is when I started on a controller, like I said, with Tractor, but back in the day, it wasn't like now where if you buy a controller, you plug it in with Tractor or whatever, and it has a template mapped for you. It used to be like, all right, here's all the commands that you can have.
Yeah. You've got
to do the MIDI like learn. It was good because you could do the learn where you go, all right, I want the volume fader of deck A, like and you press learn, and then you move the volume fader and like learns it, and you go, all right, that's what I want, and you could go through, but you had to do it for everything.
Yeah, true.
Was
like, that just because the controllers and the software was not made by the same people?
Yes, but also like it wasn't so popular, and there wasn't so many controllers that they had already made a template for it.
Yeah,
There's now like Record Box. Any of the Pioneer controllers, you can plug them straight into Tractor, even though there's a different company. They've got a template for it.
Totally.
Made because it's like, well, we can because it's that popular.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it wasn't like that. You'd have to, you get your little Vestax controller or your Behringer controller or your whatever, your Newmark controller.
Yeah.
You plug it in and you literally have to go through and map every single parameter on everything. And if you want to do like ones that do multiple, like you press this and it changes the whole thing. It's like whole nother level, like a complexity on top. Yeah.
Totally.
So I understand that whole world that you're sort of in where you've got to map everything, and you've sort of got to like
Everything
set
needs to
it
be
all up,
assigned.
yeah, to some degree. So it's so much easier these days for
Totally.
everyone, like, and I'm sure you've experienced that over the years going from old sort of stuff to new stuff as well. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, and then also just like learning my own easy way of routing it, and like,
Yeah.
and my template
Figuring
is
out.
it's never finished. It's never ever going to be
It's
finished.
always
And it's
changing.
like, it was like, took me 7 years to discover this resample thing. And like,
Yeah, yeah.
but then when I discovered that, like, it changed everything for me. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure
That's the
there's
way with
something else
music,
that will
isn't it?
happen.
That's
Yeah.
how it is with music production
Hmm.
all the time. You find this one new technique or one new thing, and you're like, fuck, like, how did I not know this before? Like, I
Totally.
should have, like, this changes the whole game.
Yeah.
And it happens like every month.
I always
Like,
tip my hat off to anyone who like has the ability to actually like watch tutorials and stuff, because I'm not, I can't. I'm a doer. Like I mean, another reason why I like the producer meetup. Like I
yeah,
really learn from like other people
yeah.
and just talking
It's a
and
different level of learning from that, I think. But like, I can do tutorials, but
hmm
my technique, is that I will have YouTube on one half, Ableton on the other half, do it while they're doing it. Like they do a little bit, I'll do it,
yep,
do it, and then once I've learnt it, then I'll be like, all right, now I'm gonna work on this project I'm working on, or start a new project. But I have to use this,
yep,
have to use this technique
yep,
in it, no matter what it is. I got to use this now, and it sort of cements that in your mind. I
yep.
think, yeah,
I would definitely, yeah, I agree. I did the same thing for a
yeah.
long time, but I think uh, just
You
being
still learn better from
oh
in
yeah,
person.
way better. But like with the tutorials thing, I just get so impatient. So like I generally
You
like when
just try to skip
I
forward.
well I just skip to the part where I could see the parameters, and then just mimic the parameters, and then be like, okay, that's close enough to the sound. Like, and now I'll work the rest out myself. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
for
might
sure.
just take a super quick piss,
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
and we're back.
We're back again.
Whoop a chow.
So I don't remember what we're talking about, but what's coming up for you? What have you got on? I know it's a bit of a weird
Nothing.
question to ask people because, like, there's a lot of things up in the air at the moment. But have you got anything planned that you want to do, or that have you got an album coming or anything?
So, I mean, yes, and no. Um, this year was actually so. Uh, the previous year, I came back to Brisbane for a bit, but was still doing music full time, doing a little bit of side work here and there.
So where were
Uh,
you then? Like, were you not?
so from the end of 2018, I up until that point, I've been playing, I don't know, 10 festivals up and down the East Coast, and a bit in NZ every year. But also managing a restaurant in Rosalie.
Okay, yeah.
Always done hospo to make the bucks.
Subsidized.
Yeah.
The constant. You need that constant. The rent paying money.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, I had a good job, and I had a boss that, like, at the end of the day was like, I'll manage your restaurant if, like, my music always comes first. And at that point, I'd only gotten into one festival, and I'd only been back for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it was like, it kind of snowballed for a little while there. And he'd be like, you got enough one? I'm like, sorry, bro. You said.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you said the rules. Hey, I didn't make the rules.
yeah.
I'm just following them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, he was really cool. He's still a good buddy of mine. But so did that, and then just got to the point where I was like, my partner at the time really wanted to go to India, so we went traveling. Wanted to just kind of like a reset, and then I'd had a tour planned for afterwards, which was like my first full time tour. So that's what the end of 2018 started there. That's the second year of going to New Zealand. So New Zealand's been really good to me.
Yeah.
And spent like 6 weeks in New Zealand, did like Luminate, a bunch of festivals, flew back for Earth Frequency, then flew back to New Zealand for one more, and then flew back again, and then basically just made my way down the East Coast over the space of like 2 months, and then came back to Brizzy, and found that was when I was mentioning earlier that like the scene had just exploded.
Yep.
And so
And you were loving it.
it was
Yeah.
a hard time to not have a gig every weekend, so which was awesome. But yeah, we're still in the cycle of I've been living for the last few years of basically just planning tours. So like there's the winter tour and the summer tour and the winter tour and then this and that, and going up north for like winter times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I'd planned my last one, which was like the end of last year. Got into Woodford, So a little bit of context there. Grew up going to Woodford.
Yeah.
Woodford's probably one of the reasons I'm from Maleny, so one of the reasons I do what I do. It was actually it's the third time I'd played at Woodford, but it's the first time I got in on my own application.
Yeah.
And it was also my 21st Woodford ever. Like
That's
I'm only
sick.
29, so like
It's my 21st. Woodford.
yeah. But I was really cool, and like but what Woodford did was show me where I wanted to really focus my efforts, because
Yeah.
unlike, I mean, I've been playing a lot of doofs for a while and love them and love the community and will never not be a part of it and always want to be more a part of it.
Yeah.
Um but the Woodford crowd is like, so like, I mean, one, they got reception there. So like people, and you're playing multiple times over a week, and like people are there for the music, and they also, it's so busy and stuff. Like they know the venues, and they know they'll just go to a venue from the start of the day. Like that, oh, we're going to be there and we're just going to see what's on. And then like they see the first day, and then they bring their friends the second day, and then they come back the third day.
Yeah.
So like 3 days in a row of like having like 500 people pack out the Pineapple Lounge to my music at Woodford, and was just like, and you know, they all want to introduce themselves, and they all want to,
Yeah.
and all these Instagram things were happening all of a sudden because there's actually reception, and it
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, because there's actually phone
my
reception.
Spotify listeners went through the roof for a month or two just from being on their playlist and stuff like that. And it really just kind of showed me that like audience that, you know, to take that project to the next level, that's the kind of events I need to be
Yeah.
really focusing on.
Yeah.
And to get into things like that, love the doof scene for the fact of it is way more accessible in terms of applications and actually getting in.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get into more things like Woodford, or like those kinds of events, content is key.
Yeah.
Like ace content, like, you know, viral videos if you can make it, but like just that side of it. So I was like, I've been, for so many years, I've been not putting my soul and energy into the writing and recording. Like I have, but not to the recording sense, because I've always been creating songs to play live for the next show, to build my template for the next show, for the next tour, and never
Yeah.
taking the time to do
Yeah.
it. So the concept for this year was basically just to focus on 4 singles, and do each single with a live video and a music video, work with other people. I've always, like,
Yeah.
one of my consistencies is, as a solo artist, I always find the benefit in working with artists,
Yep.
and just like,
Anyone. Yeah. Of different. Yeah.
yeah, I love that too, like that
It
amalgamation.
brings like a different perspective or a different idea or something than you would have. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like that was kind of the concept, was stripping it back anyway, and slowed down on gigs, was still taking bookings because I like just didn't know how not to.
Yeah. You'll
Well, I
complain.
mean, all my
It's gonna be the same set as the last time.
yeah,
though.
all my friends are going Jungle Love and Rabbits. Like, I mean, I might as well just like play again. Like,
Yeah.
But then everything got cancelled, and I kind of like, it was this weird sequence of events that, like, although all of it sucks in terms of what has happened, at the same time was kind of like pushing me in the direction I was going
It
anyway.
was sort of good timing for it to happen.
It was
for
great.
you.
It was great
for
timing.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I dislocated my shoulder rock climbing just before Earth Frequency. It was the
Ugh.
second time I've done it, but 5 years apart. And so normally I was already intending on getting a job, and normally I would get a job in hospitality. But I've dislocated my shoulder and realized that I'm no longer 25 and can bounce back anymore, and my body hates me from 10 years of hospitality. So the only other thing that was applicable to me on Seek was sales positions. And I ended up getting a job for a telefundraiser company that just works for charities.
Oh,
And it's
cool.
not by commission.
sick.
They call it like ethical fundraising, because it's just like, you know, it's not for commission. It's for a good base rate. And the reason being is like, you don't have a personal incentive to like try and sway someone over.
Yeah.
Like if someone is actually just doing hard, like you just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
If they've got money and they can donate, you try and convince them to donate. But if they don't, then it's like, yeah.
But
you're
it
not
was
good.
like just an interesting sequence of events of like going that way, holding on to the shows, doing my shoulder, needing a job in that area, getting it for this company 3 weeks before COVID. COVID hits, all the restaurants and stuff closed where I would have been working. And we got to work from home for a month and a half, and then now we're back at the office.
That's perfect.
So right now, I'm basically just taking life one day at a time.
Did you
Um,
find that was good, being able to work at home and like for music? Did you find it was
no,
easy? No, not at all.
I mean,
Opposite.
I think I only found it opposite because like I had a lot of personal stuff going on at the
Okay,
same
yeah,
time,
yeah.
but also like I think what everyone will probably relate to is just like a lot of for most people, not well, most people I've spoken to, like COVID really compounded like having to be inside and like all the stuff's going on the internet and everything's happening and everyone's unsure. It kind of like on top of everything that was already happening, it just like compounded all this everyone's personal things
Yeah.
too. It's like whereas before I could like, I had my next event to plan to, so I could like practice for
Something to look
that
forward to,
and
something to do. Yeah, yeah.
go there, reset, see my friends, blah blah blah, like have my moment, go
Yeah.
back to my normal thing. All of a sudden I was faced with none of that forever. So it's like
Forever. None of that ever again.
who knows? So it was just like cool. Like I mean, I guess gin day is every day.
Gin day is every day. Yeah.
But the working from home thing was hard because I live in the garage of my buddy's place. I got my own little like nook thing
Yeah,
going
own
on,
little vibe. Yeah, yeah.
and it's great in there and it's fantastic. But when you sit on the phone for 8 hours a day talking to people, you all of a sudden realize how dusty it is in there.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would, instead of coming home and wanting to play music or practice,
Yeah.
like, the moment I would finish, I would walk out that door and
You
just
don't want to be in that room
walk and just walk until I was okay
anywhere.
to
Yeah.
come back.
It's so funny because I know someone who produces music and that, and they do they do internet chat
Mhm.
things for like TAFE or whatever. It's like when you go onto the TAFE website, there's a little thing pops up that says
Okay,
chat,
yeah. So
TAFE,
they're like
so
the
do that. So they were working for home, and they said that it was the opposite for them for music because they could just sit there, be doing it, and then all they had to do was just like close the web browser
yeah.
and open up Ableton or whatever, and they could just start. They didn't have to close down the computer, pack up, go to the car, drive home, like get back and actually do it. They
Putting
sort of found
themselves
it
in the
was
headspace.
they sort of found it was easy to just go, oh cool, yeah, sweet, switch, bang, music, sweet, like let's do it. So
Totally.
I suppose it just depends on what space you're in at home that you've got for working. And
Definitely.
like people having home offices and stuff is really great for at the
Definitely.
moment. Yeah, if you've
Well,
got one.
it's made me really realize, like, one, like how much I want to create some kind of, I don't know, either investment opportunity or like business or whatever, just that you can do on the fly in terms of
Yeah.
like, or like in any space, in any time. And, so, but like with everything that's going on and the uncertainty, I'm basically just like really just taking my time
Yeah.
with the projects of writing new music, being
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. Like I'm not in
Get
a
those 4 singles sorted. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm not in a rush now. So like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
take my time. I applied for a grant, didn't get it, but that's all right. Like just gonna do it all slowly. And then yeah, I'm just focusing on the work side simply to so I found when I did the music full time for a year and a half last time, like where I just toured for a year and a half, the money I had the same amount of money that I started with as when I ended, which was fantastic because that's like cool. I can literally live on the road. Like I went all the way up and down the East Coast, all the way to like
Yeah.
up and all over New Zealand, and I did it all. And at the end of all of it, I had the exact same amount of money, but that's not particularly sustainable.
Yeah.
So like now it's just like working out how to refine that concept
Yeah.
more. And basically, like I'm just putting money into different investment opportunities to have stuff that's working for me, like behind the scenes. So the idea is hopefully next time when things are all up and running and I do the full time touring again, there might not be an end date,
Yeah.
but that's the hope, or
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
different. Like
It'll keep going, and you'll keep making more, like making money.
yeah,
and
or maybe
stuff.
I'll
Yeah.
do it for 3 years instead of a year and a half, like,
Yeah.
and then I'll take a break.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
Mm.
So where can we find you online? where can we find Festival Collective? How can we get involved with that? And how
Yep.
can we find all your socials? Like, what are your handles and things for
Yep.
those?
So B-Syde, B-SYDE.
Yeah.
I've just got a bside.com is a
Yep.
website. It's
So
just
as
got the
in
links to everything.
BSYDE.com?
Yep.
Yep.
With the, is it hyphen?
Yeah, the dash.
Yeah.
The little dash,
Yeah,
hyphen,
I call
whatever
it
it is.
dash, but I think people call
Call
it
it a
hyphen.
dash. I
Yeah,
call it a
I call
dash.
it a dash too. Yeah. So yeah, you can find that, and that has the links to everything. But yeah, just that form of B-Side spelling on Facebook works really well. A lot of the URLs are Mr. B-Side because there was a B-Side before me or whatever,
Yeah.
or B-Sides or something. But yeah, YouTube, Instagram.
I'll put all the
that's
links
all.
in the show notes and stuff.
Yep.
But what about MastaRyte?
MastaRyte's mainly
is-
just SoundCloud and Facebook.
and it's spelt how we talked about earlier.
Yeah, super weird.
What is it? MastaRyte?
Yeah, one word.
Fuck, I smashed
But
it.
then I do the capital M and the capital R.
The
so-
capital M and the capital R. Yeah, exactly. And then how, like, if people want to join the Festival Collective?
Yeah, so
stuff,
Festive Collective.
How do they get about that?
There's 2 pages. So there's a group. The group is the sharing space. We got over 300 people from all over this country and all over the world that are just in part of the scene in any form. There's VJs, there's yoga instructors, there's heaps of musicians, obviously.
Candle makers.
Candle makers,
Like
podcasters.
anyone who does, because like people sell stuff. That's the other thing about like doofs and festivals. People like sell arts and crafts. And
Totally.
Stuff. Yeah.
Well, I don't want. And I've never wanted obviously music was always going to take a forefront in the festive
That's
collective stuff.
the focus.
Well, it's not the focus, but it's just because of who I am.
Yeah.
That it became predominant. But I personally, my favorite thing about doofs these days is I love seeing my favorite artists play, but my favorite thing is that thing that I come across and I'm like,
Totally
who
random.
the fuck thought of that? That's cool.
Even I remember buying and I have no idea where it is. I would love to. I've totally forgotten about it till now, but I've got a hand crocheted beer cooler that I bought at a festival, and it was just some random person had hand crocheted
Totally.
this, at a store. And that's sick. I'll definitely pay $10-15 for that or whatever it was. Yeah, so there's cool other stuff at festivals too.
So many ways.
The random things that you run into at festivals. Yeah.
Totally. And I
Yeah,
mean,
doofs.
kind of backtracking a little bit there, in terms of making it a sustainable life, that's also a great thing to always be thinking about. A big thing that kept me going in the touring was I sell earplugs, which I think
I was gonna bring them up actually because I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna get some earplugs to sell too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna totally steal your idea.
And that's 100% okay, unless we meet on a dance floor.
I won't bring them to doofs or anything that you're at. How's that sound? You can be the dealer. You can be the earplug dealer at those events.
It's funny because I've seen a few others pop up since it. But I
It's
mean,
a great idea, man.
I stole it too. At the end of the day.
Yeah. I knew you stole it. I knew you didn't come up with it. Come on.
Thank you, Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot louder over there, a lot less restrictions, and they need them. So
if someone wants to get a hold of some earplugs from you, how can
send
they
me
do
a
it?
message.
Just DM you on one of the pages.
Yeah, I've just done it strictly on just over just at festivals. Generally just take a giant door stick into the middle of the dance floor that says earplugs, and which is hilarious sometimes. Some festivals you get heaps of people that are really into it, and then other ones you get lots of crookers that
Why the fuck would you wear earplugs?
they
You fuck it up.
they're looking at my bright sign that you can barely read the writing, and they're coming up closer, and I played this game for a little while. I was fishing for trippers because I could tell that they couldn't read it from afar, but it had these lights around it, so they wanted to know what it said. So I was kind of not looking at them even though I know they're there, but wiggling it a little bit. And it's and they're getting closer and closer, and then I flip it around, and then it just says earplugs, and they're like, oh, you want some?
You want some earplugs? Yeah. Oh man, I want him to turn it up. I want it louder. You got earplugs that make it louder?
Yeah, I had the funniest one was an old guy that he took it all the way to the front. It was just an old tripper, and he was just I don't need them. I lost my hearing years ago.
Yeah.
Cool, mate.
Cool, right. Well,
yep.
you're the reason everyone else needs them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started doing it because I needed them. So, and I
Yeah, yeah.
saw the gap in the market.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great idea. So hit up B-Side or MastaRyte for some earplugs
Yeah, or
if you
more
need
than
them.
anything, just look after your ears because
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Both.
better to do it now than get to where I got and then decide you have
Yeah, I
to
was
start
gonna
selling them.
yeah, so you've got like a thing with your ears. What's the vibe on that? Because like I've seen you talk about it before and we've spoken about it. So what's going on with your
I mean,
ears,
I'm not
man?
100%, but I have some sort of like derivative of a thing called hyperacusis, which is essentially like a hypersensitivity to sound that relates in pain in your ear canals.
So you need
Now,
to have it soft, like low
um,
volume or something.
yeah, so there's so many different factors. Proximity is a massive thing.
So like
Um,
headphones as opposed to
so
like
I
studio
barely
monitors.
ever use headphones
Yeah,
anymore. I even find the monitors to be a little bit. I've now moved my monitors back further,
further away.
made sure my high cuts are on there. Um, and yeah, I just do my best to. And now I like. I mean, that's changed everything over the last few years. But yeah, take breaks. Breaks are a huge thing.
Breaks are big. Yeah.
Always watch my like levels. I do still push it, but like it's kind of this thing that it's gotten real bad, and then now it's like it's always there, but I've managed to make it manageable.
You know how to sort of manage it. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I get carried away and I have a big weekend writing songs or whatever, and it's sort I don't do anything in loud
Just have a
for
break.
2 or 3 days, and I
Yeah.
can get back on top of it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like random things that it's like it's really hard because I mean, like hearing like everything is so personal. So like the worst it ever got was after a festival once, and I had the monitor
Of
up
course.
at 6 a.m. playing out of the nest at a boho, like up in the treehouse. And like my buddies were up there and they were even like, oh, I wanted you to like crank it more. But I was like, and it wasn't actually even that loud at all. But just because of the
So
proximity and it
close.
was
Yeah.
right there, like it was crazy. I was in agony for an entire day. But that's the worst it's ever gone.
Yeah.
But the annoying thing is it's kind of developed over the years, but it would get bad. Like it would almost like not be bad at the time when it should be warning me, but then for the next month, it's like this on and off
It's just
wave
an
of pain.
after effect kind of thing. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. You don't pay for it at the time.
No.
That's all the worst things in the world. Like drinking, doing any drugs or anything. It's like you always pay for it later.
Later.
It feels
Totally.
awesome. It's fine at the time. It's later. It's like,
Yeah. Well, the
fuck.
hardest thing about all of it was being to now over a space of 3 years or something, been to multiple doctors, two ENTs.
And they just don't know.
They don't know,
They kind
and
of got an idea. They're like, well,
n-
you know what helps it.
no,
So,
well, that's it. They pick the thing and be like, all right. Like one of them said to me, I think it's the second one said to me, he was like, well, I guess it's just like an occupational hazard then. I'm like,
ah,
how is
he's
that?
like, get a different job, bro.
It's like,
Get a
I
different job.
just told you I'm living as a professional musician. How is that supposed to help me? Like the
Yeah.
other one said that tightness around the jaw because there's like a nerve that goes around the back of your ear
Yeah.
canal that goes around your jawline. But anyway, it actually funny enough, the true shift in it going from being like really debilitating to like kind of getting on top of it and just being at peace with it was a podcast.
Oh,
I
really?
found a podcast called Seeking Balance,
Yeah.
and it's a lady that she mainly focuses on tinnitus, but it's about like neuroplasticity.
Oh,
Um,
this sounds sick.
yeah,
I want to know what what's it called?
check it. It's called Seeking Balance.
Okay, cool.
So
I'm gonna
was
look that
watching
up.
it
Yeah,
this
watch
time
that.
last year. Was listening to it, and she was doing a lot of the stuff on tinnitus because tinnitus, like a lot of it, when it's debilitating for people and they notice it all the time, it
Yeah.
is a matter of you can actually just switch it off,
Yeah.
like to an extent. It
Yeah.
doesn't go away. It doesn't get but you can choose to
Tune it
not
out.
see it there.
Tune it out, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I guess that from just listening to that podcast, it taught me that I had more control over what was happening than I realized. And
Yeah.
and then even just like, emotionally being more positive about it, like makes it better already.
Yeah,
And so now I'm at a point where I'm just like aware of it. The other big thing was when it first started happening and was real bad, I got my ears tested and was, I've definitely done damage
what'd you
over the
get?
years.
Yeah, because
But
I get because I work at a school. I get them tested every 2 years for
okay.
free
Yep.
because of the role I'm in, and like it's really funny. My left ear, the very high frequencies is like a little bit dropped for 1 year, and then the next year it went up.
Oh,
And I was
really?
like, so, but what, like I've got a friend who's an audiologist,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked her and I spoke to her, and when it dropped, it was when I went from just DJing and doing music to actually really working on music production in a good space.
Yeah.
So I sort of said to her, I was like, is it possible that like I'm just better at hearing certain frequencies now because I'm in a good space listening and I practiced it? And she's like, totally.
Yeah,
Like
true.
she's like, so your actual what you can hear might be very similar, but you're just better at hearing it now because you've got those pathways. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like,
That's super
so
cool.
you can fix it, but only by practicing, but
Well, it's like
not loud.
it's like everything. It's like muscle memory, right? Like almost to an extent.
Yeah, so it was interesting, yeah, that she was like, "Oh, it actually got yeah, it can get better, but it's like it's not actually physically better. You're
No.
just better at noticing it." Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, yeah, which is like at the end of the day, that's the neuroplasticity thing again. It's
Yeah, yeah.
like retraining those
Yeah.
pathways. But yeah, got my ears tested 2 years later when I'd gone like I'd gotten real good, and then I think it was a festival, and I did a silent disco.
Oh,
Um,
so you had
I
headphones
had
on.
headphones on, and I just got carried away. I like like it actually ended up being, it was like two guys doing the, like, because they always do the battle, and then it was meant to be two of us battling afterwards, but it was a very small festival in Queenstown, and the I'd already teed up my buddy from the sunny coast who was on before me, his RCAs, because I thought they'd have an abundance, but it was just super small though. It was
Yeah,
like,
they never,
you guys
oh
go to
no,
RCAs, and
man,
I was like, oh dude, I just flew
we don't
from
have
Queensland, I
anything.
didn't bring anything. Like, I mean, I brought what I brought, but like, so I'd already dipped his, and so he was trying to go another way about it, but it ended up being he didn't play. So it was like one of those like cheating, but like really gratifying moments of like when you do a silent disco and it's the different colors of the headphones, and if they're listening to you or the other person,
Yeah.
and it's just a sea of green.
Yeah, because no one was
Because there was no one else.
Yeah, yeah, so it's real good.
But yeah, that messed up my ears again, and then got my ears checked, and it was essentially at the exact same point.
Yeah.
So that brought me peace in terms of being like, okay, what I'm doing, like, I'm still continuously having to manage this pain thing and this feeling. It's a
Yeah.
feeling of fullness and almost like
Yeah.
your ears blocked all the time,
Yeah.
mainly in my left. But uh from everything that I've done, I mean, I wear molded earplugs. I just sell
Yeah.
but I
You
wear
sell
molded ones.
yeah, you sell the cheaper
Um,
ones, yeah.
but like by doing all of that, my hearing didn't get worse, which was it's the main thing. Like, it sucks that I have to completely like uproot my regiment and like change the way I produce and change the way I do everything to now cater for
It's
this.
your ears though. Yeah, you
But
need them forever. Yeah.
I need them forever. So the main
Yeah.
factor was being at peace with the fact that my hearing wasn't getting worse.
Yeah.
And so from taking that step of like, basically, I mean, the way I look at it is my body just like was like, oh, yo, you're being a dick.
Wait, chill out. Chill out,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Chill some shit out. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, and now I just do my best to listen to it.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Look after your ears, everyone.
Yes,
Look after them.
please.
Look after them. And that's like the way to look after them is breaks. See, not bulk volume, like real loud. Headphones, don't have headphones super loud,
Mhm.
like because it's so close. And just yeah, look
Have you
after.
used a sub pack much?
I haven't ever used a sub pack,
Okay,
but I'm
me either, but it's like really want one for
keen to
that
try
reason.
it. I almost bought one actually a few years ago. Yeah,
I
I'm pretty
tried to
keen
get
try
one
it.
recently, but they're all of the recent models, they've just sold out, and they're bringing out the new one, so
They're like, we're not going to make the old one
they're not
anymore,
making the
just
old one.
make
They're
yeah.
waiting for the new one. Yeah.
Because I know that a lot of people recommend like the Audi's headphones, studio headphones with the sub pack as a
Yep.
for anything. Like I even know an awesome mixing mastering engineer, Klaus Hill, who reckons he uses that
Like
more than
Klaus,
his
as in
more
like
than his monitors for.
heavyweight
Yeah,
Klaus. Yeah, cool.
I've seen him where he said he's more confident in the accuracy of wearing a sub pack and these headphones
Interesting.
than actually using his like studio setup with his monitors. Like
Yeah.
he's like he'll reference sort of it all on both, but like I think he said when he's working, he generally uses that
Yeah, sweet.
because it's that good,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
Well,
have to worry about room treatment.
I actually recently made a post on the heavyweight thing about my ears.
Yeah.
Just about I was just really curious because I'm just like making more steps to try and be able to have
I think I remember seeing
longer
that,
studio
yeah.
sessions.
Yeah.
And he was one of the ones that replied, just being like, it's all about volume at the end of the day. Like
Yeah, it's all about volume that you're hearing.
yeah, well, I was just curious that if there was any like basically like the way I was thinking when I made the post was if there's any harsh frequencies that I could run an
Yeah.
EQ on my master just
You
to
pull
like
out
just
just to-
the smallest little bits, and
Yeah,
then
just to make
obviously
it less.
like manage that in a shorter amount of time at the end of the process.
Yeah.
Just gives you like lengthier, but
Yeah.
obviously would also then change everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, so, but yeah, cool, man. Well, man, we've gone over so much. Love the chat.
Yeah,
I think it's
dude.
really cool
Thanks for
the
having me.
festival collective thing. Like, I think I love that, and I think it's, I think people should get involved and join up and check that out because I think. Like we said, moving forwards, I think festivals are going to be a big thing, like doofs and stuff like that. Like these,
Totally.
and the little ones and the things
Yep.
the little stuff. So
well, and back to that just quickly, I mentioned about the group, but there's the page as well. So if you're wanting to basically just and I'm trying to be more proactive about it, but wanting basically just to know more about like creative networking events / festival application opportunities,
place.
just follow the page. If you like, by all means join the group, but I would prefer people's intentions for joining the group to be eventually to add what they can.
To be part of the community
I,
rather than like giving back and
yeah,
not just taking.
Yeah, and it's not even like by all means join the group with an intention to do it down the line or something, but like I want that to be the intention when people join the group. And like, if you join the group and I don't know anyone and you haven't answered any of the questions, like I'm not going to add you. And it's not out of anything, but like I'm trying to keep it like a very like I
Like
want
good
it to grow
quality.
to be thousands of people, like the
but
heavyweight
the right
thing,
thousands of people.
but exactly
The right thousands of people. Yeah.
But that's why there's the page as well, because the page will have the same posts essentially, like maybe less discussion posts, but the same like application posts and stuff. But it's just viewing, right? And then the page will also be where like occasionally when I do the one-off events and stuff like that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for a good chat. It was good to find out your story and a bit more about the looping and the live and, like I said, the festival and doof scene, because a lot of the people I have on, I'm very much more in the club scene. It was thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
and,
thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, well, I'll see you at the next producer meetup.
Yes, which will be right here.
Yes. So look out for that as well.
Cheers, everybody.
All right, cheers, guys. Have a good one.